In the deep autumn, twisted and bare old vines stood silently in the autumn wind, while the rugged mountain cliffs and valleys echoed with the chirping of autumn insects. Whoosh! A strong wind swept through, and within the thousands of mountains and ravines, it seemed as if countless moths were fluttering and jostling, turning the world into a gray and white haze. Upon closer inspection, these were thumb-sized insects with grotesque human-like facial features and plump flesh. Smack! A net swooped down, trapping several human-faced bizarre insects, which flapped their wings in a frenzied attempt to escape. The sharp proboscises spewed acidic fluid, corroding the rocks with sizzling sounds, forming honeycomb-like scars. Clap, clap, clap. A glass jar swiftly captured the human-faced bizarre insects. The lid was screwed on tightly. 3 human-faced moths. I'm really lucky. A young man around 20 wiped the sweat from his brow. He was dressed in a thick rubber suit, wearing a protective beekeeper's hood. His features were regular and his eyes, bright and spirited. He tapped the glass jar, observing the furiously thrashing and saliva-spewing human-faced moths within. Su Jie set down the basket on his back at his feet, already filled with over a dozen similar human-faced moths. 12 plus these 3, even if they're sold at a reduced price at the ghost market, should fetch me a blood marrow crystal. Su Jie's face held the joy of a farmer reaping a bountiful harvest. On the black market, 10 human-faced moths could usually be exchanged for 1 blood marrow crystal. Human-faced moths, a gregarious and dangerous species, have a keen sense of hearing and an extreme thirst for blood. If too much noise is made, or even a small wound is carelessly exposed, it would attract a swarm to descend upon the unfortunate soul, devouring them completely, leaving not even bones behind. Having been here for half a year, Su Jie had already seen too many clumsy fellow sect members meet their end, leaving no trace of their corpses. Capturing them required patient lurking, waiting for a gust of wind to stir them into motion, seizing the chance to grab 1 or 2. Sometimes luck was poor and only a few could be caught in a day, but one still had to be wary of the risk of losing one's life. Because it was too troublesome, fully fledged demon cultivators wouldn't bother with capturing them, but human-faced moths happened to be a favorite food for the poisonous insects cultivated by many demon cultivators. Therefore, this troublesome task fell to newcomers like Su Jie. He was an outer disciple of Ghost Ridge Palace and a specialized insect catcher. As the wind died down, the human-faced moths once again settled on treetops and rocks. Su Jie carefully placed his basket, slowly retreated, and left that part of Insect Valley. Outside the mountain, there was a narrow path, winding and deep. Su Jie took off the stifling rubber suit and beekeeper's hood, enjoying the crisp air. "Brother Su, it looks like you've had a good haul today." Sounds from behind. Several insect catchers, dressed just like Su Jie, greeted him. "It's just enough to scrape by, after all. I still have to pay my dues to my master." Su Jie nodded slightly. These men were also outer disciples of Ghost Ridge Palace. Ghost Ridge Palace was renowned for its insect poison, by virtue of controlling this part of Insect Valley. This area was Ghost Ridge Palace's forbidden ground, where other demon cultivation sects dared not tread. While speaking, Su Jie quickened his steps, his gaze vigilant. Although they were from the same sect, they were all demon cultivators, naturally lacking much camaraderie, with the law of the jungle prevailing. Snatching or even killing others was commonplace. "Wait for us, Brother Su. It's getting dark soon. Beware of alien ghosts on the prowl, and it's better to stick together." "If you hadn't mentioned it, I would have almost forgotten, Brother Su. You're with Taoist Chiu, who demands 10 blood marrow crystals a month. You've been here for half a year, so at least dozens of blood marrow crystals are gone. They really don't treat you like a human being." "Tell me about it. My master only demands 5 blood marrow crystals a month." As the several disciples continued talking about Taoist Chiu, their tone teasing, they sped up, approaching Su Jie with seemingly ill intentions. At Ghost Ridge Palace, Su Jie had always been an inconspicuous existence. Robbing him came without any sense of guilt. "I wouldn't dare to speak nonsense. My master likes to use insect poison. For all you know, there could be one of his insect poisons on me." If he hears about this, he won't let it go easily. Su Jie kept a calm face, but his words caused a slight change in the expressions of the disciples opposite him. Offending an elder with careless words, if disciples like them were attacked or even killed, no one would bother to ask about it. The thoughts of robbery they had harbored faded, uncertain of the truth in Su Jie's words. "We'll be going ahead then, brothers." Su Jie no longer paid attention to the few men behind him and strode onto the narrow path. The sun was setting, and the dying light was as red as blood, tinting the sky. Su Jie walked briskly, the distant mountains shrouded in mist. Willow trees stood silently by the roadside, their branches hanging down, casting shadows over the grassy path. After distancing himself from the few disciples, Su Jie thought back to their words and mused internally. "That's right. I've been in this world for half a year, and to think I'm still acting as a cheap insect catcher every day." Reflecting on his past memories, Su Jie felt melancholic. Su Jie was not native to this world. He came from the modern civilization of Blue Star. Half a year ago, Su Jie had just graduated from an ordinary second-tier college and was struggling to find a job. These days, it wasn't just the graduates from ordinary colleges that had difficulty finding jobs. The situation was the same even for postgraduates, or else there wouldn't be so many opting for a steady government job. But instead of finding work, one night, an ancient mirror passed down and his family glowed brightly, and in the blink of an eye, it drew him into it. By the time Su Jie came to his senses, he found himself in this cultivating world called Tianyuan, and his arrival was in none other than the deep forests of Ghost Ridge Palace's territory. Unable to leave this deep forest, Su Jie inadvertently joined Ghost Ridge Palace. After entering, Su Jie realized the grandeur of an immortal's abode, with palatial buildings nestled amid the clouds on mountaintops, was nowhere to be seen. Instead, he was met with a demon cave scene full of skeletons forming forests, wandering ghostly fires, and poisonous creatures all over the ground. By the time Su Jie understood that Ghost Ridge Palace was a demon sect, it was too late for regrets. In half a year's time, Su Jie had learned some common knowledge about this cultivation world by constantly inquiring for news. For instance, demon cultivators are universally loathed. The idea of achieving immortality and longevity seems so enchanting. Yet these are terms associated with the orthodox Taoist sections. In this world, demon cultivators are the evils that everyone spurns and seeks to kill. Simply because the cultivation techniques practiced by demon cultivators are often sinister and bloody, commonly involving living humans for blood sacrifice, blood extraction, and soul stripping. Such actions naturally lead to universal ostracism. After the last great war between the Taoists and the demons 500 years ago, the demon path suffered defeat and gradually declined. Nowadays, demon sects can mostly only cling to survival in remote mountains, forests, and isolated islands, no longer possessing the arrogance of their once flourishing era when they slaughtered thousands unchallenged. Ghost Ridge Palace, where Su Jie resides, is one such demon sect. During this half-year, Su Jie gradually came to accept his fate, extinguishing any thoughts of escape. The deep mountains and dense forests are teeming with evil creatures, ferocious beasts, and hazardous terrains, with sect disciples stationed at all essential passages. Thinking of fleeing without a pass token? If caught, expect to be subjected to the punishment elder's soul extraction and the lighting of a corpse lamp. Fortunately, although it's the demon path being practiced, the principle of reaching the same goal by different means holds true. Attaining a high level of demon cultivation can still grant longevity, and this is Su Jie's hope. However, Su Jie's cultivation aptitude is poor. Otherwise, he would have joined the inner sect from the start, not needing to spend his days hunting insects. As an outer disciple, the 100 poison refining gu scripture he studied specifically to catch insects is the most common demon cultivation technique. After half a year of diligent practice, he had only reached the second level of the Yunling realm, slightly enhancing his physique, developing some immunity to minor poisons, and gaining a certain affinity for poison insects. The Yunling realm is divided into 10 levels, and with Su Jie's level of power, he couldn't even count as cannon fodder within Ghost Ridge Palace. Outer disciples with poor aptitude often reach their twilight years stranded at the Yunling 4th and 5th levels, nothing more than expendables in the eyes of the higher-ups. Inner disciples, however, have the potential to break through to the secret realm, typically possessing the cultivation of the Yunling 6th and 7th levels. Only at this level of power are disciples considered significant. As for breaking through the secret realm, that's no longer a disciple's concern but an ability to take on positions such as manager, master, elder, etc. Both status and power would skyrocket, becoming a part of the core forces of Ghost Ridge Palace. Su Jie is aware of his poor potential, but this is the only chance in his life to defy fate. In the modern civilized world, he was just an ordinary worker, where finding a job was extremely difficult. While here, he could hope to wield the immense power to move mountains and compel the seas, to exist as long as the heavens and the earth. Either way, he's selling his life. In the real world, working hard for a boss to afford a Ferrari. Working for Ghost Ridge Palace, at least, held a sliver of hope for immortality. The sun had completely set behind the mountain tops. Before the last ray of light disappeared, Su Jie returned to the foothold of Ghost Ridge Palace. Corpse oil bone lamps hung high, emitting pale fires as they lit up the blood candles. Owls hooted from the treetops, their cries as mournful as sobbing. Under the illumination of the bone lamps, rows of stark and crude stone caves appeared in view. "Brother Su, you're back late." A lean-faced young man greeted Su Jie. "No choice. If I don't catch more poison insects to sell, I won't be able to pay the master's monthly fee." Su Jie replied with a smile. The person in front of him was Pang Shiwan, Su Jie's neighbor, and also a fellow disciple inducted into Ghost Ridge Palace at the same time. They were both disciples of Taoist Chiu and shared a cultivation at the Yunling 2nd level. Since they were neighbors and inducted together, their relationship was somewhat better than with the average disciple. "Sigh, who knows when we'll see the end of these hard days. Capturing insects day in and day out. I feel like I'm turning into a bird." "Then you're in luck. Bird-type spiritual beasts are natural enemies to many poisonous insects. You should try strapping on a pair of wings someday." Su Jie bantered with Pang Shiwan for a few more sentences before they said goodbye to each other. Arriving in front of a stone cave, he took out a key and unlocked the door. This was Su Jie's dwelling in Ghost Ridge Palace. Inside, which spanned about 30 square meters, there were a few scant items such as a bed, a cushion, a desk, and so on. The most precious were the assortment of bottles and jars on the shelves. They contained the poisonous creatures he had found on Ghost Ridge Mountain, such as the blue-tailed demon scorpion, rainbow blood-patterned snake, evil scissor spider, red poison fire ant, and others, all low-grade species. Upon seeing a living person appear, the agitated and ferocious poisonous creatures fluttered their wings and screeched. There was one, however, that remained calm at the sight of Su Jie. It was a centipede as long as an arm, colored in alternating bands of red and black. Eerily, beneath its abdomen, the densely packed segments were actually pale human hands, looking incredibly sinister. The thousand-handed centipede, which thrived in moist and dark environments, was nocturnal and had highly toxic extremities. This was the life-bound poisonous insect that Su Jie had nurtured. Although it wasn't of high quality, it had grown considerably over more than half a year of nurturing. When he had first obtained it, it was merely the length of a finger. "It's feeding time, little guy, and today it's a feast." Su Jie lifted the lid off the thousand-handed centipede's container and took out 5 human-faced moths from today's haul, feeding them in with a pained expression. Crunch. The previously calm thousand-handed centipede suddenly sprang to action. Its jaws snapped a human-faced moth in two, chewing and swallowing it voraciously. The remaining human-faced moth screamed, and the thousand-handed centipede rose up, its underbelly hands unfurling, easily crushing several human-faced moths. With over half a year of nurturing, the thousand-handed centipede had grown robust, well, at least among creatures of its lowly caliber. Hiss, hiss. The thousand-handed centipede quickly finished off the human-faced moths and then began to wave its antenna at Su Jie, indicating its desire for more food. "That's all. The food for today is just this much. The insatiable thousand-handed centipede crawled restlessly inside the cultivation tank. Fine, fine. I'll give you some blood to drink. Su Jie, resigned, took out the blood collection equipment provided by the sect and drew half a tube of fresh blood. The dripping blood collected in a small bowl and was placed before the thousand-handed centipede, quickly slurped up until not a drop remained. That's really it. Knocking on the still beggarly thousand-handed centipede, Su Jie appeared dejected. The cultivation technique he practiced, the 100 poison refining gu scripture, emphasized the mutual slaughter and consumption of poisonous creatures to continuously refine and enhance the quality of the poisonous insects. The stronger the life-bound poisonous insect bound to Su Jie became, the more cultivation it fed back to him, greatly accelerating his cultivation progress. Unfortunately, the poisonous insects he could gather each day were limited. Besides feeding the thousand-handed centipede, he had to hand over 10 blood marrow crystals to his master every month, and he also needed them for his own cultivation expenses. This led to the thousand-handed centipede's growth being a mere 40 to 50 centimeters over half a year, severely malnourished. Su Jie had seen those inner disciples who, with ample money and resources, fed their life-bound poisonous insects a massive amount of toxic creatures. Some of the insects that mainly grew in size were generally several meters long, a far cry from Su Jie's own. Lacking resources, and as the thousand-handed centipede's growth increased its daily demand for poisonous creatures, Su Jie had no choice but to let his own blood for feeding. But even this could not satisfy its appetite. The situation was truly miserable. Placing the still begging thousand-handed centipede on his arm, Su Jie closed his eyes and started running the 100 poison refining gu scripture. The next moment, the thousand-handed centipede clung tightly to Su Jie's arm, harmonizing its breath with his. Energy flowed through his meridians, continuously drawing in the outside spiritual power into his body. By his own estimation, reaching the Yunling 3rd level would take another year with normal cultivation. After practicing for a while, Su Jie's mood was far from pleasant, with the road to immortality seemingly endless. 2 hours later, Su Jie, who had completed his cultivation, slowly opened his eyes, only to be dazzled by a brilliant light. Turning his head to look, the ancient mirror he had kept in his room was shining brightly, illuminating the stone cave. Damn, you can still be used? I thought you were a one-time consumable. Su Jie was shaken, quickly stood up, and with a mix of shock and joy, picked up the ancient mirror. He saw red light flowing across the ancient mirror, and a portal to another space quietly opened upon its surface. Through the portal, he could faintly make out a modern home on the other side. His mouth agape, Su Jie couldn't be more familiar with the setting, because that was the rental room he lived in before transmigrating to this Tianyuan world. He had been sleeping there when the ancient mirror had brought him here. Seeing this scene, Su Jie realized what had happened and, unable to contain his excitement, stepped through the doorway. I'm back. I'm really back. Looking at the familiar furniture, appliances, air conditioning, water heater, and other products of modern civilization, Su Jie almost shed tears of joy. In the past 6 months, he had suffered a lot at Ghost Ridge Palace. Every day, he had to struggle for a living and watch out for the brutal competition within the sect, living on thin ice. 6 months. Do you know how I've spent these 6 months? With a complex look in his eyes, Su Jie stared at the ancient mirror in his hands, a mixture of bitter feelings welling up in his heart. Fortunately, his 6 months of hardship had toughened his mentality. He calmed his emotions in just a few seconds. Facing the portal door again, Su Jie stepped through and sure enough, he was back in the Tianyuan world. After many trials, Su Jie confirmed his speculation. The ancient mirror could take him freely between Blue Star and Tianyuan world, allowing him to shuttle between the two realms. Hiss! I admit I spoke a bit loudly just now. Magic mirror, you really are a treasure. A smile that Su Jie couldn't suppress hung on his lips. Having experienced the treacherous and mystical world of cultivation, he didn't want to completely escape back to the real world. Although the real world was safe, with no life-threatening dangers, and pleasures far exceeded that of the other world, compared to the temptation of longevity, money and power were just fleeting clouds. Su Jie could tell which was lighter and which was heavier. Su Jie only wanted to use the resource advantages of Blue Star to aid his cultivation in Tianyuan world. Otherwise, relying solely on his poor cultivation talent, he would struggle to make a breakthrough even until death. He found his phone on the bed and charged it. There were several missed calls and texts, all from the landlord asking for the rent. Su Jie had paid half a year's rent up front, and now it was almost due. He then checked his bank account. The 5-digit figure was clear at a glance. I need to make money. Now Su Jie immediately understood what he needed to do. Wanting to use modern resources, having no money was absolutely not going to work. The total is $30,603. Whether in Tianyuan world or on Blue Star, I'm truly impoverished, Su Jie said, laughing at himself. Su Jie's mother had lost contact with his father when he was a child, and his father had sold the house and car to pay for medical bills when Su Jie was in college but did not survive. By the time Su Jie graduated, that was all he had left. If it had been just after his college graduation, Su Jie would probably have been very anxious about his dwindling family assets. But now, possessing supernatural powers, making money wasn't a matter of committing crimes. With his own talent for insect control, putting on a show or appearing on a program to make money was easy. However, Su Jie had no thoughts of continuing to work a job. It was too troublesome to make money that way, and it wasn't much money either. The differences between the two worlds were vast. Even a casual speculator could strike it rich. Speaking of which, what products from Tianyuan world were valuable in modern society? Trading gold and silver, TSK, no, that might work for small amounts at first, but it becomes a problem in larger volumes. Su Jie quickly thought it over, immediately ruling out gold, silver, and gemstones. In either world, such hard currencies were valuable and not easy to obtain. Even with profit margins, such dealings could attract attention, especially large transactions of precious metals which could draw governmental scrutiny. Before his power had increased substantially, Su Jie did not plan to draw attention to himself. Antiques seem out of the question too. Tianyuan world's antiques aren't recognized on Blue Star. Su Jie frowned deeply in thought. While Tianyuan world, being a feudal society, didn't lack ancient artifacts, the lack of shared cultural history meant these items couldn't fetch high prices. As he paced back and forth in his rented room, he inadvertently bumped into the corner of the table. A red mark appeared on his waist, but Su Jie didn't care. Instead, he stood still, gazing at the wooden table, suddenly having an epiphany. Right, timber, I can sell timber. I can do a wood import business. Su Jie slapped his thigh, coming up with a very suitable idea. Around the mountains near Ghost Ridge Palace, ancient trees hundreds or thousands of years old were common. Some of these trees were extremely rare and valuable species on Blue Star, such as golden nan wood, rosewood, yellow pear wood, and so on. These woods had become extremely endangered on Blue Star after thousands of years of logging. In the Tianyuan world, these trees were just ordinary, and no one engaged in their random felling. Su Jie only needed to set up a company with import-export qualifications or collaborate with a licensed import-export business to legally sell the timber domestically. Wow! This plan could really take off. Su Jie's eyes lit up. Hua country had imported over 100 million cubic meters of wood annually, and timber trading was extremely popular. After searching the internet for more information, Su Jie had a clearer objective, planning to first cut down a type of tree called zeton. This type of tree had already become extinct in ancient Hua country, only remaining in the form of old stock passed down through generations. Currently, only India had similar trees in production. He could completely cut down the trees, then rapidly dry them with spiritual power, or age them directly to legitimately sell them. Since this type of tree was already extinct in Hua country, there was no risk of illegal logging. Nowadays, most of the zeton in the wood trading market were either handed down from ancestors or imported from India and were sold openly. Thinking of this, Su Jie could no longer contain his excitement. He took a step back into the Tianyuan world to search for rare trees to cut down. Oh! Following his plan, Su Jie first exchanged a small amount of precious metals for millions in funds, then started to establish shell companies both domestically and internationally, paying people to negotiate relationships and secure import-export qualifications. Once everything was ready, Su Jie commenced his plan. Blue Star, Linping City, Lung Baihe Furniture Company. Su Jie stepped out of the taxi and looked up at the towering, multi-story building that housed Lung Baihe Furniture, pondering the company's details as he walked inside. Lung Baihe Furniture was a well-known home furnishings company in Henan Province, specializing in high-end home furnishings, with its products distributed throughout Hua Country. "Hello, sir. May I help you with something?" Two receptionists offered professional smiles as they inquired about Su Jie's purpose of visit. "I represent Hengyuan Company, and I'm here to discuss a partnership. I contacted you by phone earlier, seeking your purchasing manager." Su Jie went straight to the point. He was here to make money, and as for Hengyuan Company, it was a shell company he had someone set up to facilitate the transaction. "Sure, sir. Just a moment. I'll make a call to ask." One of the receptionists made a call and soon told Su Jie, "Sir, Manager Liang invites you to his office. I'll take you there now." Minutes later, Su Jie successfully met Liang Lianjuan, the purchasing department manager of Lung Baihe Furniture Company. "May I ask your surname, sir?" Liang Lianjuan shifted his gaze from his computer screen, remaining seated, his attitude neither warm nor cold. "No need for formalities. My surname is Su. I would like to know if Lung Baihe purchases raw wood materials." "Mr. Su, Lung Baihe has always had stable suppliers and overseas purchasing channels. Which timber factory are you representing?" Liang Lianjuan's attitude cooled further, assuming that Su Jie was a salesperson from a timber factory trying to penetrate Lung Baihe's supply chain. Lung Baihe Furniture wasn't short of channel partners. Hua Country was currently Blue Star's largest importer of timber, with countless timber mills vying to hitch a ride on Lung Baihe's coattails. "Manager Liang, just take a look at this first." Su Jie did not respond immediately, but instead took out his phone and opened the photo album. It contained photos of his laborious two-day efforts of cutting trees in the Tianyuan world, which he showed to Liang Lianjuan. "Mr. Su, we at Lung Baihe have stable channels for beech, pine, mahogany, oak, black walnut, cherry wood, and the like. Cooperation might not be." Liang Lianjuan hadn't finished speaking when it seemed he saw something unbelievable. After rubbing his eyes, Liang Lianjuan leaned in close, staring intently at the photos on Su Jie's phone screen. "This is top-quality Zeton, at least 800 years old. Mr. Su, you're not joking with me, are you? Do you really have this? Do you truly have it?" Liang Lianjuan's voice trembled, as excited and eager as seeing a dream lover, swiftly standing up. Such top-quality Zeton. This type of wood was called the king among woods, dense, hard in texture, and resistant to decay, able to withstand insects and moisture. Moreover, Zeton grew slowly, gaining only one growth ring every 5 years, barely maturing in 100 years. Throughout history, Zeton furniture was predominantly reserved for royalty. Today, Zeton had been extinct for centuries in Hua Country, with very limited old stock remaining, let alone such top-quality material. Lung Baihe specialized in high-end home furnishings but also rarely obtained such quality raw materials. "I'm not one for jokes, Manager Liang. I have the stock ready, and you are welcome to inspect it. However, I should mention that this batch of wood is ancestral, and your company will need to handle the formalities." Su Jie pocketed his phone. Seeing Liang Lianjuan's expression, he knew his plan had largely succeeded. Of course. Is it convenient to inspect the goods now? If the material is fine, all else is easy to handle, and we at Lung Baihe would buy it all." Liang Lianjuan didn't seem concerned, for capital dared to trample all laws with enough incentive, especially a large corporation. Regardless of whether it was ancestral, they could easily launder it. "I'm available for the transaction anytime." "Then let's not delay. I'll arrange for the company car now." Liang Lianjuan was overjoyed, thoughtfully serving Su Jie tea and water. Any initial aloofness had disappeared. Now he was the one eager for Su Jie to sell him the goods. This top-quality Zeton material was a seller's market, available only to those quick enough. Failing to secure a deal due to negligence would be nothing short of criminal. Outside Linping City, at the Southbridge Logistics Warehouse Center, a Mercedes-Benz 7-seater business van was leading, followed by a convoy of trucks and cranes that drove in and stopped in front of a small warehouse. Once the vehicle stopped, Su Jie and Liang Lianjuan stepped out of the business van. Following them were several elite business professionals, including financial and legal experts, clearly indicating a major transaction was in the works. The goods are inside. Su Jie took out the keys, opened the warehouse he had just rented by spending all his assets, and led several people inside. The warehouse wasn't very large and appeared quite empty, with only a few bare trees placed in the corners. It really is Pterocarpus santalinus. Originally anxious, Liang Lianjuan's heart was now completely settled. Su Jie wasn't playing him for a fool. Mr. Su, I'd like to take a look at the quality of these raw materials first, and I hope you don't mind if we cut into them a bit. Liang Lianjuan, eager and impatient, brought his tools down from the vehicle. Since we're all professionals here, that's naturally possible. Su Jie waved his hand, and Liang Lianjuan hurried over to the Pterocarpus santalinus trees. This guy's got some crazy connections to have so much. Upon first seeing the Pterocarpus santalinus, Liang Lianjuan judged that these trees were ancient, vintage stock likely handed down from ancestors, and completely eligible for free trade. Liang Lianjuan didn't know that there was something in the world called spiritual power that could easily age wood. Diameter about 59 centimeters, length around 16 meters, weight estimated to be 5 to 6 tons. This one's diameter is 63 centimeters. After measuring the data of 5 Pterocarpus santalinus trees, Liang Lianjuan called a master to come forward. The man picked up a chainsaw and started to make a cut at the base of a Pterocarpus santalinus. Buzz buzz. When a ring of thin wood was cut off and the sawdust was washed away, revealing the inner core, everyone except Su Jie's eyes widened. Accompanied by a faint scent, the Pterocarpus santalinus revealed a gradient of textures from shallow to deep, presenting an extremely fine ripple pattern. It was like a natural painting of West Lake, exceptionally dazzling and beautiful. Perfect grade golden star pattern. This texture, this feel, this oil richness, it's incredible. Touching the beautiful cut surface as if caressing a lover in a dream, Liang Lianjuan wished his eyes could bore into the wood. Such obsession for beloved objects is hard to understand for those not in the industry. For example, Su Jie didn't understand. Although he found it attractive, he wasn't to the point of infatuation. However, Su Jie knew one thing. He would be getting more money in his hands. Manager Liang, take a look at the other goods as well. There are still 4 more. After a few minutes, Su Jie reminded the still enthralled Liang Lianjuan. The other trees will definitely not disappoint. Master, bring over the chainsaw. Never mind. I'll do it myself. I've never cut such high-quality Pterocarpus santalinus before. Liang Lianjuan, extremely excited, snatched the chainsaw to do it himself. As the chainsaw buzzed, one after another Pterocarpus santalinus tree was cut open, and with each cut, sounds of sharp intakes of breath could be heard on the site. It's actually the finest among the fish scale patterns, evolved into the dragon scale pattern, with clear and powerful textures, full and smooth. Is it real? This level of golden star tumor scar pattern is simply perfect, too perfect. This one too is. Exclamations of surprise rang out in the warehouse. The group of experts from Long Baihe Company were like novices who had never seen the world, completely conquered by the various beautiful patterns of the Pterocarpus santalinus. After all the Pterocarpus santalinus trees had been inspected, Liang Lianjuan felt somewhat dizzy, his heart pounding with the huge unexpected surprise, more excited than when he first stayed in a hotel room with his girlfriend. So, the goods here haven't disappointed you, Manager Liang, have they? Su Jie asked with a smile. Seeing Liang Lianjuan so excited, it would be a waste not to make a hefty profit, considering the hardships he went through in the deep mountains and forests. Mr. Su, stop joking, How could I be disappointed? I'm more than satisfied with these materials. Liang Lianjuan managed to calm his excitement and said earnestly, Mr. Su, what you have here is truly top-notch. We've already weighed them just now. 5 Pterocarpus santalinus trees together weigh 31 tons and 200 kilograms. And now the market price for Pterocarpus santalinus is between 800,000 to 1.5 million yuan per ton. We at Lung Baihe are willing to pay the highest price for this purchase. That is, 1.5 million yuan per ton for this batch of Pterocarpus santalinus. 31.2 times 150,000 equals 468,000. Quickly calculating the figures in his mind, Su Jie felt overjoyed, although he managed to remain composed on the outside. Manager Liang must be joking. This price really lacks sincerity. Even the cheapest genuine rosewood bead bracelets on Taobao go for over 1,000 each, let alone this batch with such exceptional quality. Mr. Su, that's not how pricing works. There's loss during the processing of the raw materials, and we have to bear the design and processing costs as well. You can't expect us to pay the retail price to our manufacturing plant. Can you? Upon hearing this, Manager Liang immediately started to complain, explaining his difficulties. It seems like Manager Liang doesn't want to do business with me after all. That's fine. I'll find another buyer. With such high-quality goods, I'm not worried about finding someone to take them off my hands. Su Jie deliberately put on an unconcerned face, but he could see Liang Lianjuan's expression change suddenly. Indeed, as Su Jie said, there was no worry about selling such premium goods. Once the news got out, companies from outside would swarm in, and Lung Baihe might not be able to get their hands on this batch of goods anymore. No, Mr. Su, we at Lung Baihe are very sincere. How about this, you name your price? Liang Lianjuan changed his expression, pleading earnestly. I'll set a price then, 1,000 yuan per jean. If you agree, we can make the deal right now. If not, I'll look for another buyer. Su Jie raised a finger, stating his asking price. This price meant that each ton of rosewood was being valued at 2 million yuan, which was a third more than Liang Lianjuan's previous offer. That price, it's too much. Mr. Su, we need to discuss the price on our side. Please wait a moment. Originally, Liang Lianjuan planned to haggle, but seeing Su Jie's expression and fearing the young man might truly turn and walk away, he refrained and suggested discussing instead. Make it fast. Su Jie nodded, sitting casually on a log of rosewood, looking utterly indifferent, a stance that only further convinced Liang Lianjuan to finalize the deal. The man's attitude indicated he had leverage. If they at Lung Baihe missed this opportunity, there would be no other chances for them. A group of business elites rushed out of the warehouse for a secret meeting, returning only after more than 10 minutes. Taking the opportunity, Su Jie turned off the video of a young lady dancing on the short video platform and looked across. Well, have you reached a decision? Mr. Su, as you said, we at Lung Baihe are willing to purchase this batch of raw materials at a price of 1,000 yuan per jean. We're not making any profit on this deal. It's mainly about making your acquaintance. Liang Lianjuan wore a look of great loss on his face, but what he was truly thinking inside, no one could tell. After all, a merchant's words are never fully trustworthy. Although Su Jie had been mentally prepared, hearing the high selling price still made his emotions surge like a pot of boiling water about to overflow with excitement. This price meant that this batch of rosewood could be sold for a huge sum of 62.4 million yuan, soon making Su Jie a multimillionaire. Mr. Su, let's not delay and sign the contract now. We will transfer the money to you immediately. We'll issue the invoice first and then coordinate with finance. Oh, and Mr. Su, please remember to pay your taxes. Liang Lianjuan summoned finance and legal to bring out the pre-prepared contract template. In a harsher scenario, they wouldn't even have to issue an invoice which would even avoid taxes. After all, once the wood is made into furniture, it becomes almost impossible to trace, and that's why Liang Lianjuan didn't inquire about the specific origins of Su Jie's wood. Some gray areas are tacitly understood by all. After reviewing the contracts, Su Jie wasn't afraid of any tricks from the other side. He was not willing to commit a crime, but that didn't mean he lacked the capability to do so. If they dared to play word games in the contract, Su Jie wouldn't mind engaging in a real high-stakes game of business warfare with them, yes, the kind that leaves no trace behind. Signatures were made, stamps were pressed. Once both parties confirmed everything was correct, Su Jie's shell company also received the payment, and the money entered the company's account. Ding! Your Hongyuan Company account 1248 received a transfer of 62,400,000.00 yuan from Langbaihe Furniture Company on October 23 at 12:21 via Industrial and Commercial Bank. Current account balance is 62,400,419.00 yuan. A series of numbers covered up the previously sparse savings, filling Su Jie with euphoria. Even with some taxes to be paid later, this fortune was astonishing. Manager Liang, a pleasure doing business. Su Jie took a deep breath and extended his hand, not showing any sign of weakness at the last moment. The pleasure is ours, Mr. Su. If you have any more good stock in the future, please contact me. Our demand for such materials at Langbaihe is endless. Liang Lianjuan also reached out, satisfied with the deal. He had already perceived there was more to the wood than a simple inheritance and looked forward to more dealings in the future, aiming to secure this major client. Sure thing, we will do this again next time. Su Jie responded with a smile, not needing Liang Lianjuan's reminder. With such an easy and safe way to make money, he naturally wouldn't let it go. Today he would effortlessly come into wealth of over 60 million, and with a bit more logging of precious trees, reaching a small financial goal would just be a matter of effort. He declined Liang Lianjuan's invitation for drinks and further discussion and watched as the 5 logs of rosewood were hoisted onto a truck and left the warehouse. His smile no longer able to be contained. 60 million. Oh, 60 million. With so much money, how could I possibly spend it all? Su Jie kept looking at the bank messages on his phone. The excitement of his sudden wealth was hard to restrain. After all, the most money he had ever handled was just tens of thousands. 60 million was a figure Su Jie never even dared to dream of before his transmigration. And with this huge sum of money, Su Jie could finally move forward with his plan to use Blue Star resources to assist his cultivation. After leaving the warehouse area, Su Jie treated himself to a hearty meal. With his belly full and satisfied, based on the information he found online, he took a cab to the outskirts to a farm specifically for breeding scorpions. The farm covered a large area, with several single-story factory buildings, and a wolf dog tied at the entry barked furiously upon seeing Su Jie approaching. Sizzle! From inside his sleeve, the 1,000-handed centipede poked out half its head and emitted a threatening sound. The terrifying appearance of the 1,000-handed centipede instantly scared the wolf dog to death, who tucked its tail and shrank back into its kennel, not daring to come out again. Su Jie glanced at the sign hanging at the gate, Yaogang Scorpion Breeding Farm, and there wasn't even a security guard to watch the door. Just as he was thinking about calling the factory number posted beside the wall, footsteps came from inside the factory. Possibly alerted by the earlier barking, a dark-skinned, squarely built, middle-aged man ran out. "Hello, boss. Are you here to buy scorpions? I'm Chen Yaoguang and I run this factory. I hope the dog's barking didn't scare you earlier. This damn dog. I'm going to slaughter it one of these days." Upon first meeting, the man was exceedingly enthusiastic, and the way he looked at Su Jie was nearly glowing green. Su Jie warily gave him a look. "Are you some kind of a special hobbyist?" "Somewhat. I'll go in and take a look around, see how the scorpions you're raising are faring." Su Jie touched the 1,000-handed centipede hidden in his sleeve, felt reassured, and walked into the scorpion breeding farm with Chen Yaoguang accompanying him. It was evident that Chen Yaoguang was a clean person. Although he was breeding scorpions, which don't require a clean environment, he kept both the inside and outside of the factory spotless. "Boss, this is our breeding facility. A factory building like this 3 meters in height, uses large-scale honeycomb-style breeding. We can house up to 200,000 scorpions." Chen Yaoguang enthusiastically continued to explain and then personally led Su Jie inside the factory building. The scorpion breeding pools here were constructed from wooden board grates, arranged like rows of bookshelves. A vast number of gray-brown scorpions crawled in and out, their sheer quantity making one's scalp tingle at a glance. Upon entering, the thousand-handed centipede in Su Jie's arms immediately became restless, eager to climb out from his sleeve. Mr. Chen, what mainly are the varieties of scorpions here? Su Jie calmed the thousand-handed centipede and continued to inquire. We primarily breed East Asia pincer scorpions here, sold to pharmacies for medicinal purposes. Male scorpions cost 0.8 yuan each, and females are a bit more expensive at 1.1 yuan each. We also breed some rainforest scorpions and emperor scorpions. These are sold to insect pet shops and are priced higher. I don't know which type you'd want to purchase. Chen Yaoguang answered immediately, carefully watching Su Jie, afraid that he might be dissatisfied with the prices and leave. His Yaogang scorpion breeding farm was recently facing a crisis of survival as the usual stable traditional medicine channels had cancelled their supply relationships with him. A business like scorpion selling cannot take to the streets to peddle. Without downstream sales channels, his breeding farm suddenly became mired in difficulties. The farm's daily expenses for water, electricity, and feeding mealworms were a considerable expenditure. The immense pressure almost crushed him. He even sold his ancestral house to invest in it, struggling painfully to keep going, which was why he was so enthusiastic to see Su Jie come by. How many scorpions do you have in your farm? The farm has a total of 5 buildings, with about 1 million scorpions being bred. Boss, I have been in the insect breeding industry for over a decade, and you can absolutely trust the quality of the scorpions I breed. Hearing this, Chen Yaoguang grew even more excited. This person could be a major customer. However, Su Jie's appetite was bigger than he had anticipated. Nodding in satisfaction, he said, "Are you selling this factory? I'll offer 2 million. Buy the factory?" At this, Chen Yaoguang was completely dumbfounded. He had thought Su Jie was a major customer, but it turned out he was interested not only in the scorpions but also in the factory itself. "I'm truly sorry, boss, but that's likely not possible. I have put too much effort into this factory, working here from my 20s into my 40s. It's not for sale." After hesitating for a moment, Chen Yaoguang still turned down Su Jie's offer. He had worked at this breeding farm for many years and had deep feelings for it. 2.5 million are you selling? Su Jie, without even blinking an eyelid, casually threw out an even higher number. Now holding over 60 million in cash, Su Jie really demonstrated his wealth without any signs of heartache when spending. Gulp. Swallowing hard, Chen Yaoguang breathed more heavily and struggled to say, "Boss, I know you're rich, but breeding insects is my dream, not something to be insulted by money. Please respect my dream." Though the number was very tempting, he had dreams about insect breeding. Otherwise, he wouldn't have sold his house to invest in the breeding farm and stick with it. 3 million, I respect other people's dreams very much. How about this, Mr. Chen? I'll buy the breeding farm and still let you manage it with a salary of 50,000 a month. I will not interfere with any production aspects. Only the sale and trading of the scorpions will be up to me. Su Jie, wearing a smile, kept adding more to the price, eventually completely breaking down Chen Yaoguang's psychological defenses. "That what? Haha, boss, you read people so well, I agree. But it's not for the money. It's to continue managing this breeding farm." Chen Yaoguang succumbed in front of the staggering 3 million. Dreams are important, but so is filling one's stomach. Moreover, Su Jie respected his dream and would still let him manage the factory. He really couldn't find a reason to refuse. After all, a monthly salary of 50,000 was truly tempting. "That's settled then. We'll sign the contract shortly and I'll transfer the money to you after that." Seeing Chen Yaoguang's face bloom into a big smile, Su Jie was highly satisfied as well. Having Chen Yaoguang there made things much easier for Su Jie, who didn't have the capacity to manage the breeding farm himself. And with more than a decade of experience in insect breeding, Chen Yaoguang was the kind of talent Su Jie needed to hire for his operations. As for the small amount of money paid in the world of Tianyuan, it was as simple as chopping down a couple more trees. "Mr. Chun, first fetch me a box of scorpions. Catch about 10,000. I want to take them with me. Understood. Understood. I'll go catch them right away. Instantly stepping into his role, Chen Yaoguang began treating Su Jie as his god, almost as if he wanted to show him his heart to demonstrate his loyalty. After getting the scorpions, Su Jie and Chen Yaoguang signed the transfer contract for the breeding farm, and with a payment of 3 million, the Yaogang scorpion breeding farm was henceforth under Su's name. With this breeding farm as a cover, Su Jie could, in the future, buy large quantities of venomous insects without raising any suspicion. After giving instructions to Chen Yaoguang to manage the factory well, Su Jie carried 10,000 scorpions back to his rented room in the urban village. Though 10,000 scorpions sound like a lot, their actual weight is only about 35 to 40 kilograms. With physical capabilities surpassing those of an average person, Su Jie wouldn't be considered much in the Tianyuan world, but this load was still easily manageable for him. Once inside the rental, Su Jie eagerly released the 1,000-hand centipede. Go! These are all for you to eat. CZT. The 1,000-hand centipede stood upright excitedly and burrowed into the box. In an instant, the scorpions that were calmly lying in the box, as if encountering a natural predator, frantically scurried about trying to escape. The 1,000-hand centipede, having entered the box, excitedly shook its antennae, as if it had arrived in paradise, emitting an extremely excited pheromone. It was like eating chips, grabbing a scorpion and crunching noisily, quickly crushing and swallowing it before lunging at the next one. Some scorpions, aggravated, raised their tails at the 1,000-hand centipede with predictable outcomes. Though the 1,000-hand centipede was also an inferior poisonous insect, it was from the Tianyuan world after all. And with half a year of cultivation by Su Jie, it had enhanced strength, agility, defense, and toxicity that the scorpions couldn't possibly harm. The scorpions that dared to attack simply became faster prey for the 1,000-hand centipede, crunched and consumed with relish. Perhaps Su Jie had starved the 1,000-hand centipede too harshly in the past, for now seeing such an abundance of food, it was like a rat in a rice barrel voraciously feeding, never stopping to pause. In just 10 minutes or so, several hundred scorpions had been devoured by the 1,000-hand centipede. Su Jie noticed that at this point, the chitin shell of the 1,000-hand centipede started to change in its sheen, turning gradually from a deep color to semi-transparent. It's about to molt and advance in grade. Su Jie's eyes brightened. As the owner of the life-bound poisonous insect, he could feel the current state of the 1,000-hand centipede. It was a signal of pent-up energy bursting forth, a vigorous life force wanting to undergo transformation. Another hour passed, and the 1,000-hand centipede had consumed at least 1,000 scorpions, turning them into nourishment for its bodily growth. Having eaten too much, the movements of the 1,000-hand centipede turned from the previous ferocity to a lazy sprawl, staying motionless in one spot. Eventually, it coiled into a ball, its exterior hardening into a stiff shell as it struggled and twisted within, trying to break out. The advancement is starting. It seems my idea was correct. I can compensate for the resources needed by the 1,000-hand centipede with quantity. Su Jie was extremely delighted. What he saw was not only the promotion and transformation of the 1,000-hand centipede, but also the hope for its future growth. On Blue Star, the poisonous creatures greatly differ from those in the Tianyuan world. However, in the Tianyuan world, people typically capture insects from the wild to cultivate them, without the benefits of modern large-scale breeding. But Su Jie could supplement the 1,000-hand centipede with an overwhelming number of insects. If quality is insufficient, make up with quantity. The rich productivity of modern society is something the Tianyuan world does not have. The evolution of the 1,000-hand centipede took several hours, with Su Jie staying by its side the entire time. Finally, after 3 hours, the completely transformed 1,000-hand centipede emerged from its old skin, its new tender skin showing a slight red color, having grown from its initial length of 50 centimeters to now around 1 meter and 20 centimeters. Looking closely, the insect shell on its body was dark and shiny, with fierce fangs on its head, looking utterly ferocious. Moreover, despite the 1,000-hand centipede's name, it actually only had 44 pale human-like hands under its belly. Now, the number had doubled, reaching a total of 88 pale human-like hands. Haha, I've got a low-grade poisonous insect now. Su Jie couldn't help but hold the newly evolved thousand-handed centipede and giggle foolishly, scrutinizing it over and over, never tiring of the sight. Poisonous insects are categorized into top, middle, and low grades, and among the outer disciples, those who possess a low-grade poisonous insect are in the minority. Most control inferior poisonous insects. Once a poisonous insect becomes graded, even if it's just low-grade, its abilities and strength see a massive boost. Wait, that's not right. It's not just low-grade. Has it completed a spirit refining too? Suddenly, Su Jie, as if he had discovered something, exclaimed in surprise as he looked at the forehead of the thousand-handed centipede. On its forehead, there was a new set of lines that looked like concentric rings. Between the different grades of poisonous insects, top, middle, and low, each grade has a special advancement branch, known as spirit refining. Spirit refining is a special kind of abnormal developmental ability of poisonous insects, akin to a tadpole transforming into a frog, or a caterpillar into a butterfly. Upon grading, a poisonous insect will go through metamorphic development, leading to a further increase in strength and often new special abilities. Each grade of poisonous insects can undergo spirit refining up to 3 times. Hence the saying, each grade 3 refinements. The strongest poisonous insects are those that are top grade with 9 refinements. Because spirit refining is challenging, requiring a combination of resources, luck, environment, and other factors, it's something one can hope for but not seek. Not many outer disciples even have low-grade poisonous insects, let alone those that have undergone spirit refining. Even a single spirit refinement is considered remarkable. Su Jie hadn't expected that the thousand-handed centipede would not only be graded but also had fortuitously completed a spirit refining, now making it a low-grade first refinement poisonous insect. This starting point had already surpassed the majority of the outer disciples. The thousand-handed centipede, unaware of Su Jie's current excitement, was very hungry after its evolution, having used up all its nutrition to evolve. It quickly burrowed into the scorpion box, greedily devouring one scorpion after another. It was observable that with just a press from one of the pale hands underneath the thousand-handed centipede, a large number of scorpions turned greenish on their exterior, succumbing to the venom and dying on the spot. This was an innate ability of the thousand-handed centipede, which after grading had significantly increased force and quicker action of its venom. Phew! Suddenly, a few of the 88 pale hands under the belly of the thousand-handed centipede snapped off from the base, as if they had their own life, swiftly lunging out to prey, grabbing scorpions and delivering them to the mouth of the thousand-handed centipede. Then, the severed arms retracted back into the gaps under its belly, rapidly reattaching and healing, presenting a sight both eerie and terrifying. Su Jie knew that this was a new ability the thousand-handed centipede had mastered, allowing its arms to detach from the body and move independently. The few thousand scorpions in the box were just enough for a full meal for the thousand-handed centipede, whose dietary needs had significantly increased after becoming graded. Half an hour later, the scorpions in the box had been completely devoured. Su Jie once again picked up the thousand-handed centipede, which had grown plumper, and placed it on his body, circulating the 100 poison refining goo scripture. The thousand-handed centipede clung tightly to Su Jie's waist and abdomen. Su Jie could feel the other's cold touch spreading over his body, then permeating into his meridians and flesh. Gradually, the spiritual power inside Su Jie became more active. It was like a river cascading over a parched riverbed. His spiritual power and mind felt refreshing and invigorated, everything falling into place, as his strength broke through to the 3rd level of Yunling. What would have required a year of hard work to advance was easily skipped with the nourishment from the low-grade first refinement thousand-handed centipede, saving him a year of laborious effort. After several hours of cultivation practice, Su Jie opened his eyes again and looked at his own arm, which had undergone some changes. Compared to the skin on other parts of his body, his 2 arms were noticeably fairer, possessing a sickly pallor, much like the arm of a thousand-hand centipede. With a light press of his palm on the box, he expelled a burst of force, and a dark green handprint immediately appeared on the wooden box. If it had been pressed on a human body, the poison would have instantly invaded the flesh. As expected of the 100 poison refining goo scripture, now I can also inherit the special abilities of this life-bound poisonous insect. Su Jie smiled at the corner of his mouth, urged his spiritual power, and then from his shoulders and ribs, his flesh split and 8 pale arms took form and drilled out before detaching from the flesh and falling to the ground on their own. The fallen arms spread their fingers, resembling swiftly scuttling spiders, with the part beyond the wrists arching high, moving nimbly following Su Jie's will. Finally, the 8 arms simultaneously grabbed a steel pipe and managed to bend it forcefully. This is the way of a demon cultivator. No wonder they are shunned and despised in the Tianyuan world. Such magic skills are indeed horrifying and chilling. Su Jie, satisfied, ceased the supply of spiritual power, watching the 8 arms quickly wither and disintegrate, unable to contain the joy on his face. The new ability of the thousand-hand centipede had also been inherited. Today's gains were indeed too great, not only confirming the avenues for earning money in both worlds but also evolving the thousand-hand centipede to the stage of low-grade first refinement. He furthermore confirmed that his approach was correct, that he could use the resources of Blue Star to assist in the practice of his cultivation technique. Hey! Upstairs! What's with the ghostly laughter in the middle of the night? Can't people sleep? Caught up in his excited laughter, Su Jie heard the complaints of other tenants from downstairs. Without realizing it, his cultivation had taken him deep into the night. It looks like I need to find a new environment. This place isn't suitable for cultivation. That thought crossed Su Jie's mind, noting that cultivating in a densely populated environment easily attracts unwanted attention. Oh! The next day, Su Jie got out of bed and dressed neatly before going to the landlord to terminate his lease. Ignoring the incessant chatter of the old man, Su Jie, with no luggage to pack, directly hailed a cab to the nearest 4S car dealership. In the 4S store, Su Jie immediately set his sights on his target, paying over $2 million in full for a top-of-the-line BMW M8 with a temporary license plate, and driving off, all within less than 20 minutes. So much so, the salesperson serving him was still in a daze even after Su Jie had left. It was their first time seeing someone treat buying a car as nonchalantly as buying vegetables. Having obtained his driver's license during university, Su Jie quickly got familiar with the vehicle and drove off swiftly. After driving around Linping City for a while, Su Jie arrived at a real estate sales center. Jingjiang Manor. This was a well-known high-end residential complex in Linen City, with an average price per square meter that exceeded 20,000, and it was built in less than 3 years. However, its fame didn't come from high prices but rather the opposite. Due to a decline in housing prices in the past 2 years, the sales center began to discount and sell properties. Early homebuyers were not pleased, gathering in large crowds to cause uproar at the sales center, making repeated appearances on Hannan Province's television news. Nevertheless, no matter what, this residential complex was indeed one of the few with the highest property prices in Linping City. Now that Su Jie wasn't short on money, naturally, he wouldn't shortchange himself. His first choice for buying a home would certainly be one of the finer options. The BMW M8, priced over $2 million, was quite conspicuous. Salespeople, who are known to be observant, were quick to notice. As soon as Su Jie parked the car, several enthusiastic sales representatives rushed out from the sales office. These sales representatives were polished in their appearance, both handsome men and beautiful women, dressed in high-end tailored suits, looking exceptionally professional. "Sir, how may I help you?" The sales reps clearly saw the BMW that Su Jie was driving, and their attitude became even more enthusiastic, hoping to earn a commission in the sluggish housing market. "I'm here to buy a house, of course. Introduce me to the properties you have here." I see you have detached villas for sale. Let's start with those." Su Jie got straight to the point, emphasizing his wealthy and bold demeanor. Upon hearing this, the eyes of each sales rep lit up. That tone of voice was unmistakably that of a tycoon. Ahem, sir. Let me take you to see them. I am very familiar with the community planning, building layouts, and pricing. I guarantee I can choose the most satisfactory property for you. What should I call you, sir? My name is Lu, you can just call me Xiao Lu. I'm mainly responsible for the villa sales in the Eastern District. We happen to have several promotional villas on sale. Are you interested in learning more? The sales reps competed covertly, as Su Jie was a potential big deal. The commission from closing this deal could be enough to cover a year's salary. More sales representatives crowded around, with several women in suits appearing particularly attentive, sending flirty glances his way. Su Jie looked around and set his eyes on the most beautiful female sales rep in the place. This sales representative was wearing a petite suit, tall and slender, standing at about 1.7 meters, with bright and attractive facial features, dignified and elegant, and with a beauty score above 90, was truly a rare beauty. As it happened, Su Jie knew the saleswoman. Her name was Lu Yingying. During his college years at Linping City Finance and Economics University, Lu Yingying was a year ahead of Su Jie and was recognized as the prettiest girl in the finance department. Su Jie remembered her, but she didn't remember him. You come and introduce it to me. The rest of you can disperse. Pointing at Lu Yingying, Su Jie chose the eye-pleasing Lu Yingying. The other sales reps were visibly disappointed. Su Jie's attitude made him seem like someone who wasn't short on cash, and the female reps were even more envious and resentful toward Lu Yingying. Sir, I will definitely serve you with sincerity. Let's go and see the properties in person, so you can get a more direct understanding of the value of the properties. Lu Yingying was pleasantly surprised and proudly glanced back at the other female sales reps, smugly puffing out her chest, which annoyed them, internally cursing her as a seductive fox. Coming out of the sales office, Su Jie looked at Lu Yingying, who was walking ahead with a light step and swaying peach-like hips, and smiled, asking, Lu Yingying, no need to go to those ordinary villa areas. Where's the best villa you have here? Just take me straight there. Of course, sir. How do you know my name? Lu Yingying's beautiful eyes shone, and then she paused in confusion. What do you think? Su Jie pointed at her chest where 2 hefty pineapples lay, with her name tag hanging above them. Ahaha. I still don't know how to address you, sir. You seem to be about my age. My name is Lu Yingying. You can call me Xiao Lu, or Yingying if you like. Lu Yingying brushed aside a strand of hair tousled by the wind, showing off her graceful figure and sweet smile.
Su Ye.
No need to be so formal with you. If we're counting, I should probably be calling you Senior Sister Lu. Su Jie walked beside Lu Yingying, teasingly said, Senior Sister? You also graduated from Finance University. Lu Yingying responded quickly, immediately understanding Su Jie's identity. You were 1 year above me. Back then, Senior Sister Lu, you were quite the celebrity at our school. How come you became a real estate salesperson after graduating? Jobs are hard to find nowadays. My major in finance didn't get me anywhere without resources. I couldn't get into the big financial firms, and the small ones had intense internal competition. I just left a job at a financial company 2 months ago. Lu Yingying's voice had a somber tone. She was 1 year senior to Su Jie, which meant she had been working for a year and a half. The fact that she had ended up in real estate sales indicated her career hadn't been going too well. Unlike you, if I had such good resources, even without a college degree, it would have been a breeze to get into a large financial company. Perhaps it was the connection of being from the same school that made Lu Yingying loosen up a lot, joining Su Jie in criticizing their chosen field of study. In Lu Yingying's view, for Su Jie to dare to buy a villa in Jingjiang Manor at such a young age, he must be a second-generation rich kid. Those prestigious financial companies really like to hire rich kids, as their social connections were indeed valuable assets. Su Jie just smiled and didn't explain, saying, Let's not talk about that. Is that the standalone villa you're taking me to see up ahead? Ah, I nearly forgot about it with all the chatting. Yes, that's Jingjiang number 1 over there, the king of buildings on the property. It's the biggest, most luxurious, and prettiest detached villa we have here. Lu Yingying pulled out the keys and opened the door to the villa. The villa was set on more than 2,000 square meters, boasting a private swimming pool, a private garden and lawn, and its decoration was extremely lavish. The total area of the villa is 2,050 square meters, with 3 levels above ground and 1 below, featuring an atrium, a central island kitchen, an indoor elevator, a private cinema, a study, a bar, and a vast rooftop terrace. Additionally, the backyard of the villa provides direct access to Qingshui River with a private dock. When purchased, will also present a small yacht, convenient for outings. Lu Yingying indeed had strong work capability, detailing each of the luxurious standalone villas' advantages one by one. After looking around the villa, Su Jie was fairly satisfied. Firstly, the area was large, and the distance from the nearest villa and residential area was sufficient, with surrounding trees blocking the view, convenient for his cultivation. Moreover, next to the villa was a tributary of the Qingjiang River. As the thousand-handed centipede continued to grow and became too large to carry around, it could be transported through the river, slipping away undetected. Lastly, the villa was fully furnished and equipped, saving him the hassle of decorating. Let's talk about the key point: how much is the price, and can I move in on the same day after I buy it? After the tour, Su Jie turned his gaze to Lu Yingying. The villa has a total price of 49.99 million, but if you're buying, I can fight for a maximum discount of 5% for you, which means you can take it for just under 48 million. After purchase, you can move in immediately. Lu Yingying's heart raced. Seeing Su Jie's attitude, he seemed serious about buying. That would mean a huge commission for her. The price seems fine, but... Su Jie paused there for a moment, instantly making Lu Yingying's heart leap with anticipation. But what? Su Jie, don't play riddles with me. If you have any unsatisfactory terms, we can talk about them. Lu Yingying looked at Su Jie nervously, fearing this lavish deal might slip through her fingers. Taking 2 steps forward, Su Jie pulled back the huge curtains in the master bedroom, smiling. The house is great, but it's just too empty, lacking a bit of life. Later on, we can hire cleaning staff. If there are not many people at home, I'm the only one in my family. Then. Lu Yingying bit her red lips, seeing a commission of hundreds of thousands slipping away. She seemed to make up her mind, recalling the rumors she had heard in the industry. Taking a step forward, she hugged Su Jie from behind. Su Jie, I could stay with you for a night to add some life to the house. What do you think of that? Now that sounds good. I'm particular about my sleeping environment, and I have trouble sleeping in unfamiliar places. Having someone to keep me company would be perfect, and I could also test if the villa's bed is soft enough. He patted the ultra-soft, king-sized bed. Su Jie lifted Lu Yingying's chin, revealing her shy and timid, but beautiful face. Lu Yingying seductively bit her red lips and slowly closed her eyes. Anyway, Su Jie didn't dislike it. There was mutual affection, and both sides could be said to have hit it off immediately. It was like heavenly thunder igniting Earth's fire. In the luxurious bedroom, the king-sized plush bed underwent the biggest bounce test since it had left the factory, enduring the ordeal amidst storm-like tremors. The next morning, Lu Yingying slowly awoke from a deep sleep, her body feeling sore and weak. Sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows, and footsteps sounded, waking Lu Yingying as if from a dream, making her subconsciously pull the blanket around her. Then Lu Yingying saw Su Jie walk in wearing pajamas. Awake? You really can sleep, said Su Jie, stretching lazily, picking up the clothes scattered on the floor. After tossing and turning with me all night, who could handle it? And yet you blame me for sleeping. Lu Yingying wrinkled her nose, a face of grievance, her body feeling as if it had fallen apart. Who knew it was your first time, I thought? Su Jie raised an eyebrow, his words earning him a glare from Lu Yingying. What did you think if not for money, right? There's nothing to be shy about that. Humph, sooner or later it's just giving it away to men. Might as well exchange it for a higher valued chip. Lu Yingying said so pragmatically, no longer feeling conflicted. Some women wish for this opportunity and never get it. Anyway, she herself didn't feel it was a loss. Put on your clothes. It's time to go. Su Jie didn't say anything more, just handed back the clothes on the floor to the other party. Kicking me out already? My arms and legs are still sore. Can't I stay a bit longer? Suit yourself. If you're not in a hurry to sign the property purchase agreement, you can lie in bed as long as you want. Then what are we waiting for? I'll leave with you right now. In a flash, Lu Yingying, who had just been complaining, seemed like a different person, instantly regaining her full energy. She got up from the bed briskly, got dressed, and soon returned to the radiant beauty she was the day before. Back at the sales office, in the midst of envious glances from the sales team, Su Jie signed the property purchase contract, and his bank account diminished to just over 10 million. Lu Yingying's face bloomed with a brilliant smile. With this deal secured, she would receive a commission of 700,000 to 800,000, equivalent to a decade's salary for an average office worker. Still short on cash, Su Jie looked at the remaining balance of just over 10 million in his account, expressing this sentiment. Though the amount was a lot for the average person, for Su Jie it really wasn't much. In just a few days he had nearly spent 60 million, a sign that he still wasn't earning enough. After the huge sale, Su Jie did not stay at the bustling sales office but instead drove his BMW M8 to the outskirts, to the South Bridge Logistics Center where he had rented a new warehouse. Chen Yaoguang was already waiting there and wasn't surprised to see Su Jie driving up in the BMW. After all, anyone who didn't blink at spending 3 million to buy his venue, this young man about the same age as his daughter, clearly had a wealth that was anything but ordinary. Driving a BMW was only to be expected. Old Chen, did you bring the goods I asked you to prepare? Su Jie parked the car and walked toward Chen Yaoguang. I've brought them all, Boss Su. Take a look. This small truck is filled with scorpions that I captured with a few workers this morning. A total of 30,000. Chen Yaoguang quickly opened the tailgate of the small truck, revealing several neatly arranged boxes. Unload the goods into the warehouse. From now on, come to the warehouse every day and deliver 50,000 scorpions. I'll give you a key to the warehouse door, and you just send me a message on my phone after you're done loading and unloading. Su Jie gestured with his hand. This remote location of the warehouse was suitable for the 1,000-hand centipede's feeding. Chen Yaoguang unloaded all the scorpions from the truck into the warehouse, avoiding any unnecessary conversation throughout the process. Though he was curious about how Su Jie would manage to sell the scorpion, he wouldn't ask if Su Jie didn't mention it, lest Su Jie think he had ulterior motives. Once Chen Yaoguang had driven the small truck away, Su Jie locked up the warehouse door and released the exceptionally hungry 1,000-hand centipede. In just an instant, the 30,000 scorpions acted as if they had encountered a natural predator, frantically crawling wildly inside their boxes. After refining, the 1,000-hand centipede had grown to a length of 1.2 meters and had developed a huge appetite. Seeing the scorpions excitedly shaking their antennae, it went into a frenzied killing spree, devouring the scorpions one by one. Su Jie stood quietly on the side, watching. The weight of the 30,000 scorpions exceeded 100 kilograms, which was enough to satisfy the appetite of the 1,000-hand centipede. It was fortunate that he was on Blue Star. If it were in the Tianyuan world, no amount of effort could allow him to capture so many poisonous insects. Although the scorpions were of low quality, their sheer quantity provided plenty of sustenance. Even the inner disciples and elders of Ghost Ridge Palace cultivating poisonous insects might not be able to fill their bellies as well. The technology and productivity of modern society were undeniably evident at this moment. With a stable supply of poisonous insects, Su Jie spent the next several days immersed in cultivation. Time flew by. A week later, Tianyuan World, Ghost Ridge Palace. The autumn wind was getting harsher, the grass and trees were swaying, and many of the poisonous insects between the trees had entered hibernation, reducing their activity. Su Jie stepped out from the ancient mirror, looked at the room covered with dust, and let out a long breath of turbid air, saying, "My strength has been consolidated. With the low-grade, first-refined 1,000-hand centipede, now I have a bit of self-preservation ability among the outer disciples of Ghost Ridge Palace. Thanks to the growth of the 1,000-hand centipede, which had yielded cultivation benefits, Su Jie thoroughly consolidated the foundation of his recent breakthrough in 1 week. Sizzle. The thousand-hand centipede perched on Su Jie's shoulder raised its head and made a joyful noise. The abundant spiritual energy of the Tianyuan world made it feel comfortable and at ease. Good, good. I'll take you to play in the forest in a while. Su Jie stroked the head of the thousand-handed centipede. Over the week, with his daily feeding of tens of thousands of scorpions, the centipede had also grown significantly, its body length breaking through to 1.5 meters, looking extremely robust and fierce. He then coiled the thousand-handed centipede around his waist and abdomen. This not only served as biological armor but also allowed it to attack immediately in battle. Dressed in the standardized black robe of an outer disciple of the Ghost Ridge Palace, Su Jie pushed open the stone door of his cave dwelling that had been sealed for a week. "Oh, Brother Su, you've come out of seclusion." Just as he stepped out of the cave, his neighbor Peng Shiwan, hearing the movement, greeted Su Jie. "Yes, after all, my strength is too weak. I must cultivate properly and can't always be busy catching insects." Su Jie replied with a smile. Seclusions were common, but outer disciples needed to keep busy with livelihoods and could not dedicate themselves entirely to cultivation. Catching insects is not bad. It's just that recently it has become difficult for me even to want to catch any. Peng Sherwin chuckled bitterly and pointed to his left leg, explaining, "Yesterday, I was bitten by a two-head snake in Insect Valley. I can't engage in strenuous activities for some days. It's quite inconvenient to search for insects in the mountains." "That's a bit of bad luck. Aren't you going to find some medicine?" "I was just about to take a trip to the black market to get some. Want to join me?" "Sure. I'm also going to sell some poisonous insects." Su Jie went back inside to get ready and soon came out carrying a bamboo basket on his back. The two left the Ghost Ridge Palace premises and walked along a narrow mountain path for some distance. Along the way, they occasionally saw other Ghost Ridge Palace disciples, all hurrying along with grim faces. Although they were from the same sect, they were colder than strangers. A moment later, Su Jie and Peng Shiwan arrived at a market deep in the mountains. The market was crudely made of trees right there, but it was crowded with people. Apart from the Ghost Ridge Palace disciples, there were also many merchants dressed in silk, coming and going with their caravans. This was the Ghost Ridge Black Market. The Ghost Ridge Palace was a notorious demon sect, but whether in the Tianyuan world or on Blue Star, as long as there were sufficient profits, merchants were willing to take risks, even risking their lives. For profit, merchants from outside continuously supplied various goods to the Ghost Ridge Palace and then bought its resources cheaply. This cycle of buying low and selling high was lucrative enough to turn heads. So, despite the explicit prohibition against dealing with demon sects, a continuous stream of merchants still came to trade. Upon entering the black market, Su Jie and Peng Shiwan temporarily separated. Peng Shiwan went to find a pharmacy to get medicine, while Su Jie hurried to sell the poison insects he had caught in Insect Valley some time ago. The black market was much busier than the outside world, with merchants loudly advertising their wares, and Ghost Ridge Palace disciples lingering in front of spirit pills, magic artifacts, spiritual materials, and other cultivation items, especially those large shops which sold highly valuable items. The firms that could open such shops were famous even outside, guarded by cultivators from the secret realm. 9-grade Tianji spirit gathering pills, 50 blood marrow crystals each, can regenerate flesh, stop bleeding, and heal injuries rapidly. Buying it is like having an extra life. Selenum soil from Yun Province, ideal for digging-type poisonous insects, 15 blood marrow crystals per pound. Earth melt fruit, a 9th-grade spirit fruit, when consumed by fire attribute poisonous insects, can greatly enhance the foundation for breaking through spirit refining. Don't miss out as you pass by. Servants distributed flyers at the roadside, calling out their wares, making one think they were in a bustling town rather than a lair crowded with cruel, evil cultivators. Su Jie enviously glanced at those treasures radiating spirit light, knowing that they were beyond his reach for now. "Mr. Su, 5 pieces of blood marrow crystals. Look at the quality of these poison insects I have here," they're wildly fierce, top-notch goods. Even though they are considered inferior poisonous insects, ordinary low-grade poisonous insects can't beat them. For I can only go up to 4 pieces at most. We all know our goods, and these kinds of inferior poison insects are delicate and frail. Transporting them hundreds of miles through that long journey, if they die halfway through, I'll be at a big loss. After a great deal of bargaining, even though Su Jie had praised his poison insects to the skies, he only managed to sell them to a few small shops, earning a mere 25 blood marrow crystals in total. That was the money Su Jie had managed to save up over a month. He had to pay Taoist Cho 10 blood marrow crystals each month and still needed money for his cultivation expenses. From the day Su Jie joined the Ghost Ridge Palace cultivators, he had been living a miserable life. Whenever he saw something good, he could only stare dry-eyed, unable to pull out more than a few blood marrow crystals from his pockets. Damn it! One day I will buy the whole black market, Su Jie muttered to himself. On Blue Star he was extravagant, but back in Tianyuan world, he was still penniless and the psychological gap was incredibly vast. Although Su Jie could also sell resources from Blue Star on the black market, considering the risks involved, he immediately dismissed the idea. He dared not test the methods of the Ghost Ridge Palace elders. Without the power to control great wealth, in the cruel environment of demon cultivators, there was only a dead end. After finishing his business, Su Jie arrived at the center of the black market, the designated meeting point with Peng Sherwin. Before he even got close, faint cries and pleas already sent shivers down his spine. The street at the center of the black market was very special. What was sold here were neither spirit objects nor magic artifacts nor talismans, but live humans. Men, women, the elderly, and children of ordinary people were placed in iron cages, necks and limbs shackled with iron locks, most with numbed and stiff expressions, devoid of any hope. Many of the demon cultivator disciples from Ghost Ridge Palace were picking and choosing in front of these cages, bargaining with the stall owners. How much for a sturdy man, how much for a woman, how much for packaging the old, weak, sick, and disabled together? It felt just like buying sheep or cattle, with people treated like beasts waiting to be selected. Demon cultivators engage in refining corpses, extracting souls, and performing blood sacrifices on living beings. Whether it's practicing demon technique, forging demon artifacts, or designing demon arrays, they can't do without one thing: live humans. Humans are the greatest resource for demon cultivators and an indispensable one at that. Like the humans captured by slavers before him, most of those taken back by the disciples of the Ghost Ridge Palace would end up as food for the poisonous insects. This practice would nurture the cruel and cannibalistic traits of the poisonous insects, accelerating their growth. Su Jie, coming from a modern civilized society, was initially extremely shocked by this, but gradually he became accustomed to it. He couldn't change others, but he himself had never purchased humans here. "Brother Su, sorry to have kept you waiting." While he was looking, Peng Sherwin hurried over. Su Jie noticed that his hands were empty. "You didn't buy the medicine?" Surprised, Su Jie then thought of something and said with resignation, "You went to Wankai Hall again, didn't you?" The so-called Wankai Hall was a gambling house, specifically set up for cultivators, equipped with specialized gaming tools and prohibitions to prevent cheating. Furthermore, with many Ghost Ridge Palace elders having stakes in it, no one dared to cause trouble. The gambling house continued to operate prosperously in the black market, and Peng Sherwin, due to pressure, occasionally played there. "I couldn't resist. I thought I could make more money to buy some good medicine, but today my luck was poor. Brother Su, could you perhaps?" Peng Sherwin rubbed his hands together, looking at Su Jie with some expectation. "It's getting late, we better hurry back. At night, alien ghosts roam the mountains, and it would be a huge trouble if we encounter them, especially with your left leg injured." Su Jie understood Peng Sherwin's hint, but pretended he didn't. What a joke. He's penniless himself. Where would he find the money to help? Besides, their relationship isn't even that close. Peng Sherwin looked gloomy and forced a laugh. "Haha, that's true. Anyway, my injury isn't severe. Even without medicine, it just means no strenuous activity for a month. I can just rest for a month. As long as you know your own condition. Su Jie nodded, and they left the black market along the same route, not speaking to each other again. Oh, in Insect Valley. This part of Insect Valley was shrouded in toxic fog, with poisonous creatures covering the perimeter. It was one of the most important resource zones for Ghost Ridge Palace and the main source of income for its disciples. Bang! As a dark shadow swooped in, a few silver-winged golden-lined cicadas perched on the treetops rapidly flapped their wings, trying to escape. The next second, the shadow closed in, dozens of pale and eerie hands enveloped from above, blocking the flight path of the silver-winged golden-lined cicadas. However, these silver-winged golden-lined cicadas, each the size of a fingertip, were not easy targets. Their speed surged like bullets shot out, leaving a beautiful trail of gold and silver light in the air and piercing through several pale hands. Pop, pop, pop. But, still, there were too many hands pressing down layer by layer, eventually restricting their movement and capturing them firmly. Su Jie walked out from several meters away, beckoning to the thousand-handed centipede that was descending the large tree. The thousand-handed centipede handed over a few silver-winged golden-lined cicadas, and Su Jie examined their quality. Satisfied, he nodded, then bit his fingertip and mixed his blood with spiritual power as he dripped it onto the cicadas. Control! At his low command, the initially struggling silver-winged golden-lined cicadas gradually calmed and then lay on Su Jie's fingertips, sucking the fresh blood to memorize his scent. This is almost my current limit of control.
Su Jie pondered to himself.
After visiting the black market and several days later, Su Jie had been continuously taking the thousand-handed centipede into Insect Valley to train. The thousand-handed centipede honed its combat skills through battle, while Su Jie captured poisonous insects needed for sale. For some suitable poisonous insects, Su Jie kept them to refine into his own life poisonous insects, like the silver-winged golden-lined cicadas in front of him. Go! Under Su Jie's control, 5 silver-winged golden-lined cicadas took flight, soaring at subsonic speeds, penetrating the trees to a depth of 10 centimeters. Shake, shake! The silver-winged golden-lined cicadas that managed to free themselves wobbled in the air, circling a few times after overcoming their dizziness, then again took flight under Su Jie's control. Their sharp wings flew up and down, easily slicing through thinner branches of trees. Su Jie waved his right sleeve, and dozens of fire blood bees flew into the sky, their dense wing flutters sounding like bombers passing by. They were much slower than the silver-winged golden-lined cicadas but could eject a fine line of fire from their tails, easily igniting the dry twigs and leaves on the ground. Silver-winged golden-lined cicadas combined with fire blood bees, these two types of poisonous insects are it. Su Jie recalled the silver-winged golden-lined cicadas and fire blood bees in the sky. With his current 3rd level of Yunling realm strength, combined with the thousand-handed centipede, he had reached his limit in controlling the number of life-poisonous insects. Moreover, more poisonous insects isn't always better. An appropriate combat system must be considered. The fire blood bees and silver-winged golden-lined cicadas were relatively strong among inferior poisonous insects. The fire blood bees could fly and attack at long range, serving as archers. The silver-winged golden-lined cicadas were fast and attacked ferociously, acting like assassins that could kill with a single strike. Combined with the close-range combat of the low-grade 1 refining thousand-handed centipede, a simple combat system was completed. For the fire blood bees and silver-winged golden-lined cicadas, Su Jie currently did not plan to enhance them excessively by feeding them a massive amount of poisonous insects from Blue Star. Unlike the thousand-handed centipede, which was a life-bound poisonous insect, controlling other poisonous insects required Su Jie to measure his own capabilities. The higher-grade poisonous insects are often more fierce and brutal. If his power wasn't sufficient or if he was injured, he could face the risk of the poisonous insects turning on him, attacking him in return. He had stayed in Insect Valley for a while, capturing a few inferior poison insects. There were low-grade poisonous insects in Insect Valley, but they required venturing deeper into its interior, which was far more dangerous than the outskirts. Without absolute certainty, Su Jie did not want to risk his life. As dusk approached, Su Jie gathered his basket and embarked on his return journey with today's earnings. Insect Valley was approximately 10 kilometers away from Ghost Ridge Palace's base, through a mountainous, densely forested environment with narrow, winding paths, making the return journey challenging. Rustle. Suddenly, Su Jie's ears twitched as he heard a strange sound. It resembled the wind blowing through the leaves, but was interspersed with faint, barely perceptible panting. Swiftly turning his head, Su Jie looked towards the dense forest behind him. The light was obscured by the dense trees, shrouding the surroundings in gloom. A pair of crimson eyes flickered in and out of view within the woods, rapidly approaching his position. Alien ghost, and it's not even dark yet. Su Jie's expression changed dramatically, and he quickened his pace, shifting from a walk to a sprint. A gust of wind blew behind him, accompanied by a faint, terrifying roar getting closer and closer. Su Jie sped up continuously. Fortunately, he was not far from the Ghost Ridge Palace's base. After sprinting out of the dense forest and deep valley, the base was in sight, surrounded by a vast open area. As long as he could fight here, he could immediately attract the attention of the disciples, and he wouldn't have to worry too much about his safety. Still not completely set, the sun's twilight illuminated the ground as Su Jie, gasping heavily with sweat pouring down like rain, leaned on his knees to catch his breath for quite a while, looking back towards the dense forest. Between the trees, a sinister figure with outstretched branches dark as storm clouds was staring intently at Su Jie with blood-red eyes, filled with malice and savagery that sent chills down one's spine. This figure was tall, its arms hung down to its knees, monkey-like. Its skin was dry and pale as if it were a moving corpse, emitting a harsh, deep growl from its throat. The so-called alien ghost was a demon formed when a corpse was influenced by the turbid aura of the earth veins, then swayed by its bloodthirsty instincts. It was also known as ghoul, corpse ghost, among other names. Alien ghosts were nocturnal creatures that preyed on humans, fierce by nature, typically acting alone, but sometimes they hunted like wolves in packs. Each alien ghost possessed formidable physical strength, capable of effortlessly tearing apart large trees that two people could barely embrace and moving swiftly as the wind, making them extremely difficult for ordinary disciples to handle. In the mountainous area where Ghost Ridge Palace was located, there happened to be an earth vein emitting turbid aura, which also led to a large number of alien ghosts. Fortunately, they did not venture out during daylight, and typically, Ghost Ridge Palace disciples would intentionally avoid them. Looking at the alien ghost, which possessed no insignificant intelligence, it clearly knew that the area around Ghost Ridge Palace's base was perilous. The creature stared at Su Jie for several seconds before reluctantly growling twice and slinking back into the dense forest. There must be a problem. Su Jie's gaze grew stern. Alien ghosts generally did not appear during the day. It was in their nature. In the past, Su Jie had never seen alien ghosts during the daytime. He had only heard of disciples and black market merchants who had missed their timing when returning from the mountains and were hunted by the alien ghosts at night. With unresolved thoughts, Su Jie did not dare stay outside any longer and quickly returned to Ghost Ridge Palace's base. As soon as he returned to the stone caves, Su Jie saw many disciples gathered together, all of whom were disciples of Taoist Chiu, numbering over 200. In Ghost Ridge Palace, the relationship between master and disciple was somewhat similar to the relationship between a supervisor and a graduate student in Su Jie's understanding. The master taught the disciples, and the disciples served the master. However, Taoist Chiu was notoriously stingy and greedy. He did more taking than giving, and talented disciples often chose not to become his students, making his sect the smallest in Ghost Ridge Palace. What's wrong? Su Jie stepped forward to ask, not understanding why they were gathered there. The master has summoned us for something. He wants us to go see him. A disciple explained, and someone nearby whispered, I bet it's about the alien ghost's activity these past couple of days. An alien ghost? But do they move around during the day? Su Jie's mind raced, immediately recalling his previous experiences. You encountered one? Then you're lucky to be alive. The person looked at Su Jie somewhat unexpectedly. Friend, could you elaborate? Su Jie looked at the speaking disciple who was over 50 years old, a hopeless age for an outer disciple to make any breakthroughs. During the conversation, Su Jie casually passed a human-faced moth, a type of poison insect that was a hard currency among outer disciples. I remember you were called Su something. The man hurriedly accepted the human-faced moth, his face breaking into a smile. Su Jie, how may I address you? Hehe, I'm Gu Weonian. If you had asked other disciples, even inner disciples might not know about it, but you asked the right person. Gu Weonian smiled smugly, then continued. These past couple of days, the alien ghosts changed their behavior of moving at night to appear during the day in the dense forest. Already, more than a dozen disciples have perished while venturing out, and some black market traders have suffered heavy losses. 20 years ago, a similar situation occurred, caused by a surge in the Earth's foul qi, leading to a riot of alien ghosts with abnormal activity patterns, and many people died back then. I see, thank you, Brother Gu, for clearing that up. Su Jie grimaced. If things were as bad as described, venturing out during the day would become dangerous. Be careful if you go out in the future. Don't fall victim like those unfortunate souls, devoured by alien ghosts without leaving even a whole corpse behind. Seeing as he had received the human-faced moth, Gu Weonian's attitude was quite friendly. I understand. I'll avoid those things at all costs. I'm certainly not going to tempt fate. Gu Weonian nodded, his tone that of someone who had been through it all. Good that you know. Unlike some hotheads who think they're invincible after learning a few minor tricks, they foolishly challenge enemies far beyond their capabilities. While they were talking, a man and a woman approached. The man was dressed in a blue robe, wearing a badge that marked him as an inner disciple, and his entire demeanor was as cold as ice, his facial muscles particularly stiff. The woman, on the other hand, was strikingly beautiful and scantily clad in light gauze. Her slender waist and long legs, and barely hidden fair skin were incredibly seductive. These two were the only two inner disciples among Taoist Chiu students. The male's name was Pei Haibing. He had been promoted to inner disciple half a year ago with a Yunling 6th level cultivation. He did not practice the 100 poison refining Gu scripture commonly cultivated by Ghost Ridge Palace disciples, but another Taoist skill known as the white bone transformation, which was extremely cruel and terrifying when executed. The female was Yu Wenxian, a name that suggested tranquility and elegance, but her attire and demeanor completely contradicted that notion. She was even more ruthless and venomous than Pei Haibing, and she had been there longer. It seemed that Yu Wenxian noticed Su Jie sizing her up. She smiled sweetly and said, Junior brother Su, why do you keep looking at your sister? Could it be that you want to spend a lovely night with me? Su Jie shivered and quickly waved his hands. Senior Yu is joking. I am far too humble and dare not aspire to such heights as to covet a flower like senior sister. If people knew, wouldn't I be drowned in saliva by your followers and admirers? Hee hee, you're quite the wit. Yu Wenxian pursed her lips and giggled, her large assets quivering with a striking curve. Yet not a single disciple dared to sneak a glance. Come on now, we're about to depart, and yet there's such a lack of tact. Do you really expect me to walk to see Master? There isn't even a single newcomer with some sense. The smile vanished, and Yu Wenxian huffed coldly, causing several male disciples to panic and rush out, kneeling at her feet. With a light tap of her jade foot, Yu Wenxian sat cross-legged on the backs of those men, as if riding a horse, letting the disciples kneel on all fours, crawling forward, carrying her. Su Jie exhaled in relief, grateful that the devilish woman hadn't set her sights on him. Looking again at the few male disciples being treated like beasts of burden, these were the unlucky fools who had succumbed to lust. Yu Wenxian had refined a special type of mother-child love poisonous insect, which, once a male disciple couldn't resist the temptation and became intimate, the love poison would enter through their vital root into the heart, lying dormant under the control of the mother poison. Manipulated by Yu Wenxian. At Yu Wenxian's command, the affected person would suffer the agony of 1,000 insects eating at their heart, becoming entirely at her disposal, enslaved like beasts of burden to serve her. Many new recruits who didn't understand, Upon meeting Yu Onxian thought their luck in love had arrived, only to be controlled by her for life after falling into the trap. Su Jie truly did not want to provoke such a ruthless person. Is everyone here? Follow me to meet Master. Pei Haibing's face was cold as ice, looking as if someone owed him a great sum of money. The group traveled several miles to a large estate halfway up the mountain. In front of the yard, a few willow trees were planted, their drooping branches like strands of hair, twisting freely in the breeze. Knock, knock. Pei Haibing stepped forward and knocked on the gate. The gate opened automatically, revealing the sumptuous interior layout, with tall pavilions, covered walkways, pavilions, pools, rockeries. Everything one could imagine, and the walls of each structure had exquisite bas-reliefs. It was hard to imagine such a luxurious estate hidden deep in the mountain forests. Upon entering this place, everyone's expression grew somber as they stepped into the yard, including Yu Onxian, who immediately stood up from the backs of others and tidied her attire. Many servants were busy in the yard, greeting the group of disciples as they saw them. These servants were slaves bought from the black market, not only to clean and manage the estate, but also to serve as a human resource for cultivating demon techniques when necessary. Apart from them, there were some figures with dull and murky eyes and swollen bellies that were particularly prominent, standing guard like sentinels. Regardless of gender, they all had bellies as if pregnant for 10 months. These were not living people but insect slaves, created by cultivators through refinement. Inside their bellies were a multitude of tiny poisonous insects, with the human body serving as the nesting ground for the insects. Because they were cultivators, their flesh was rich with spiritual energy particles, creating a higher quality of insects in such an environment, with the insects becoming more bloodthirsty and ferocious. Essentially, these people were already dead, left with nothing but their instinct-driven walking corpses. In the event of an enemy encounter, their flesh and blood would transform into nutrients for the insects, hatching poisonous insects of various sizes and creating a terrifying sea of insects. Su Jie dared not look further and continued to walk with his head down. After climbing over 100 meters, Su Jie finally saw Taoist Chiu in front of a pond brimming with lotus blossoms. The man, donned in a purple robe, appeared somewhat lean and seemed to be in his 70s. His eyes were the ice-cold vertical pupils of a snake, and he was currently tossing bait into the pond with a jade cup as if feeding fish. But upon closer inspection, that was no fish food. Those were human eyeballs, freshly gouged out and still streaked with blood. No sooner had the eyeballs hit the water than numerous enormous shadows darted beneath the surface, fiercely competing for the food, causing water to splash everywhere. Master, I have brought the people over. Please give your instructions. Pei Haibing quickly stepped forward beside Taoist Chiu, bending over respectfully to report. Fairly punctual. The hoarse voice came through as Taoist Chiu slowly turned around. Serving you, elder. How could we dare to be negligent in the slightest? Yu Onxian, with her coquettish voice, eagerly agreed from the side while the other disciples dared not interject. Now that everyone is here, let me tell you something. Taoist Chiu set down the jade cup and, with hands clasped behind his back, faced the crowd and spoke. Just yesterday, the turbulence of the Earth's foul chi caused the magnetic field of the alien ghosts here to become disorderly, resulting in a daytime feeding frenzy. After today's assembly at the mountain gate, the sect master has decided that, starting from today, in order to protect Insect Valley, the Black Market, the Blood Marrow Stone Mine, and the crucial transportation routes outside, we're establishing a protective patrol team. Disciples above the second layer of Yunling must mobilize. Groups of 3 will patrol the mountain and protect the roads day and night, ensuring the safety of the trade routes. What? Upon hearing these words, the disciples erupted in shock, and many outer disciples' complexions instantly turned extremely unsightly. The might of the alien ghosts is not something ordinary disciples can withstand, and even in groups of 3, the situation is extremely perilous. But to voice objection was something no one dared, not even half a word. Just thinking about those insect slaves they saw in the compound was enough to imagine how cruel Taoist Chiu's methods were. The sect's decisions were not something these disciples could oppose. Su Jie remained silent, Although he wished to live quietly and practice cultivation, the collective action was a decision by the sect, and he had no choice but to steel himself and participate. Peng Sherwan, on the other hand, had a grim expression, his face dark and purple like an eggplant beaten by frost. Our lineage's patrol team will be assembled in 10 days. You all can choose the members yourselves. Don't disappoint me. Taoist Chiu reclaimed the fish feed, his face expressionless. All eyes turned towards Pei Haibing and Yu Wenxian as the disciples harbored different thoughts, each beginning to calculate their savings. All right, you may all leave now and prepare well. Taoist Chiu sent everyone away. The group of disciples exited the yard and immediately surrounded Pei Haibing and Yu Wenxian. Brother Pei, this spiritual tea that I bought from Chui Feng Pavilion. Please try it and see how you like the taste. Senior Yu, this golden jade blood hairpin is a spiritual object I came across by chance. It can accelerate the gathering of spiritual energy and assist in cultivation, perfectly suited for a beauty like you. The disciples vied with one another to show their eager flattery to the two, as being in one team with them, who were inner disciples, would naturally significantly increase their security. Su Jie did not join in. Setting aside whether he had enough money, he carried far too many secrets on him. To be in a team with inner disciples, he feared that any slip could allow them to detect something amiss. The night was like water, and the earth had already fallen into slumber. In the stone cave area, under the caress of the night breeze, apart from the occasional hoot of an owl, the desolate and dim stone cave area was silent. When the time reached the early hours of the morning, an extra shadow appeared beneath the human bone lamp post, stealthily making its way to the front of a stone cave door. Feeling around on the stone door, a small snake emerged from the shadow's fingers, slipping into the keyhole, unlocking the tightly closed door. The shadow seemed very familiar with the surroundings. Despite the pitch darkness within the room, it effortlessly found the chest where valuable items were stored, and was about to open it when a voice drifted leisurely through the air. Brother Peng, why stoop to this? Accompanied by the voice, the oil lamp in the room lit up. Su Jie stood silently by the bed, gazing at the figure that had appeared in the cave, letting out a sigh. The figure stiffly turned its head, letting out a bitter chuckle. So you've caught me, huh? I wanted to do this without anyone the wiser. Seems like it's just my fate. Brother Su, don't blame me. I've injured my leg, and if it's not healed before the mountain patrol, I'll only have a death sentence. I need the money for treatment. Knowing there was no point in hiding, the figure pulled down its hood, revealing it to be Su Jie's neighbor, Peng Sherwan. Ah, but there's no need for stealing. If you'd spoken to me honestly, maybe I would have lent you the money. Su Jie shook his head with heartfelt pain, as if looking at a child who had gone astray. You would lend me the money? Then I'll borrow it now. Just 20 blood marrow crystals. Peng Sherwan was stunned, a look of joy crossing his face. I won't lend it. However, before the joy on Peng Sherwan's face could last even a second, Su Jie immediately refused him. I've thought it over carefully, and I've decided not to lend it to you after all. Su Jie had a serious look of contemplation. As for money, that was something he definitely wouldn't lend out. After all our years as brothers, don't we have any camaraderie left? You're going to watch me jump into the pit of fire with your own eyes. Peng Sherwan seemed taken aback by the response, his eyes wide with anger as he spoke. Su Jie waved his hand and said, I can't do that. I'm not so heartless. I won't watch you jump into the pit of fire with my own eyes. I'll close them. Peng Sherwan. The next moment, Peng Sherwan became frantic. Fine, fine. I always knew this was who you are. Since you're heartless, don't blame me for being unrighteous. Today you'll give me the money, willing or not. A person who's not ruthless shouldn't cultivate as a demon. I'm going all out. He never considered that if he stole Su Jie's blood marrow crystals, and Su Jie couldn't buy resources, entering the mountain would be extremely dangerous. I'm very curious about something. Why did you choose to steal from me? Is it because I'm weak? Without a trace of anger, Su Jie remained calm as he looked at the other party. Peng Sherwan's eyes turned fierce as he said coldly, Nonsense. With your lousy talents, who else would I choose besides you? Then you've chosen the wrong person. Su Jie smiled and crooked his finger invitingly. Suddenly, Peng Sherwin felt a strange warmth in his nose as two streams of black blood rushed out, his body convulsing with intense pain in his internal organs. When did you poison me? This is the 5 organs black blood incense. A trace of fear flickered in his eyes as Peng Sherwin abruptly turned to look behind Su Jie. There, an incense stick was burning, its poisonous smoke wafting through the air, unseen in the darkness of the room until now. To wait for the poison to take effect, I had to chat with you to kill some time. I didn't expect you to hold out for so long. Amidst the swirling fumes, Su Jie spoke as a black and purple centipede, measuring 1.5 meters long, darted out from his waist and pounced towards Peng Sherwin. Boom! Several poisonous snakes as thick as chopsticks drilled out from Peng Sherwin's fingertips, charging at the 1,000-hand centipede and attempting to bite and envenom it. Alas, they failed to pierce the chitinous insect shell and were instead swallowed whole by the centipede. A gold toad the size of a palm leaped onto Peng Sherwin's shoulder. Its long tongue shot out like a crossbow bolt, splitting into several strands midair and aiming for Su Jie. This was Peng Sherwin's life-bound poisonous insect. At the same time, a dozen small snakes crawled out from the hem of Peng Sherwin's pants, swiftly slithering towards Su Jie. This was Peng Sherwin's poisonous insect tactic. First, use the toad's split tongue to bind the enemy, and then release the snakes to bite and inject deadly poison. Su Jie understood his opponent's moves. His body remained still, but the flesh under his ribs writhed. Several pale arms burst out from the flesh, each grasping and holding the split tongues tightly. Then, with a sweep of his sleeves, Su Jie released a swarm of silver-winged golden-lined cicadas and fire blood bees that buzzed and flapped their wings angrily. The former sliced through the tongues with incredible speed, while the latter raised their tails high and sprayed fire lines towards the group of snakes on the ground, burning them and causing the smell of cooked meat to waft through the air. All of this was just the clashing of inferior poisonous insects. The greatest threat was the fast-moving, utterly unstoppable 1,000-hand centipede that ignored all attacks and lunged forward. Low-grade poisonous insects, spiritual power of the Yunling 3rd level. You've hidden it well. Peng Sherwin's pupils contracted fiercely. Sensing the threat of death, he pressed on the gold toad on his shoulder. Using some unknown method, the toad's size suddenly swelled, and without a moment's hesitation, it turned and fled, abandoning its life-bound poisonous insect without a second thought. Because Peng Sherwin was painfully aware that, no matter how strong the gold toad was, it was no match for the low-grade 1,000-hand centipede. The difference between them was colossal. The gold toad inflated its belly, and its croak resonated like thunder. Croak! Dozens of forked tongues shot out, their number several times greater than before. The 1,000-hand centipede paid them no mind, as its pale human-like hands from underneath its body tore the binding tongues to shreds and, with a whistling sound, chased after Peng Sherwin. Peng Sherwin's left leg was injured, and he had also inhaled Su Jie's poisonous smoke, so how fast could he possibly run? He had barely left the stone cave when the 1,000-hand centipede pounced on him, coiling around him repeatedly, turning his upper body into a wrapped dumpling. Spare my life. Peng Sherwin's face showed fear as he begged for mercy. Had you known this would happen, why did you do it in the first place? Brother Peng, it's even you who taught me, without cruelty, don't practice demon cultivation. So, you can only obediently go die now. No sooner had he spoken than the 1,000-hand centipede released its constricting grip and returned to Su Jie's side, flaunting its antennae as if awaiting praise. Looking at Peng Sherwin again, his body was covered with green handprints, and he was long since poisoned, blood flowing from his 7 orifices, lifeless. You did well, here's your reward, a tasty treat. After patting the headplate of the 1,000-hand centipede, Su Jie grabbed Peng Sherwin's life-bound gold toad with a pale hand and fed it to the centipede. Although it was inferior, Peng Sherwin had raised it for half a year, and the 1,000-hand centipede found it quite delightful. After rewarding the creditable thousand-hand centipede, Su Jie wrapped it back around his waist and chest. Then, after a moment's consideration, Su Jie deliberately smeared some of Peng Sherwin's fresh blood on himself and rubbed his cheeks, making his complexion appear sallow and pale as if he had suffered a grave injury. Having finished all of this, Su Jie then dragged Peng Sherwin's body out of the cave. By now, the commotion from the fight had awakened many, with eyes from various stone caves looking over inquisitively. Infighting among the disciples of Ghost Ridge Palace was common, as after all they were demon cultivators. But Su Jie emerging as the victor surprised many. However, upon seeing Su Jie's pitiful state, they quickly understood. It was merely a bitter victory where both sides had suffered, and Peng Sherwin wasn't such an imposing figure that anyone would take it to heart. Su Jie stood his ground, waiting, because he knew someone would come to deal with the situation. Su Jie didn't have to wait long. Two members of the law enforcement team dressed in red uniforms, openly displaying their Yunling 7th level powers, walked over. The law enforcement team was a special force belonging to the sect, accountable only to the sect master, distinct from ordinary disciples. The leader swept a glance over Su Jie and the already dead Peng Sherwin on the ground, pulled out a register, flipped to the page with their portraits, and said indifferently, "Su Jie, for the brutal murder of a fellow sect member, you know the rules, don't you?" "I understand. I will take care of the monthly fee that belonged to Peng Sherwin from Master's side." Su Jie immediately responded. The higher-ups of Ghost Ridge Palace didn't care about outer disciples killing each other. After all, such disciples were seen merely as consumables by the higher-ups. As long as the monthly fees were not shorted, everything was negotiable. This was also the reason why outer disciples seldom killed each other, mostly opting for robbery instead. Even if they killed someone, it was done where no one else could see to destroy the body and remove all traces. Otherwise, the cumulative monthly fees would pile up, and killing the person would mean having to pay their share of the fees, which was too costly a price to pay. "Are you selling the body of a 3rd level of Yunling realm? I'll pay 30 blood marrow crystals." Another member of the law enforcement team spoke, asking for Peng Sherwin's body on the ground. The bodies of cultivators contain spiritual power, which is an extremely valuable resource for demon cultivators. As for trading the bodies of fellow sect members, for demon cultivators this was no issue at all. They valued only power, not any kind of moral righteousness. "Sell, I sell." Without hesitation, Su Jie responded. He had lost the monthly fee at Peng Sherwin's hands, and this was a good chance to recoup some of it. "You are doing well," the member of the law enforcement team said with a smile, patted Su Jie on the shoulder, handed over 30 blood marrow crystals, and then dragged the body away without looking back. Weighing the money bag containing the blood marrow crystals in his hand, Su Jie was filled with many emotions. Alive, Peng Sherwin could not acquire 20 blood marrow crystals, yet in death his body sold for 30. The irony was profound. Shaking his head to dispel the slight sadness in his mind, Su Jie turned and went to the neighboring stone cave, which was Peng Sherwin's house, planning to thoroughly loot it. If he didn't loot it, others would come to do so. Better that he benefit instead. In the very similarly arranged room with sparse furniture and cushions, likely because he had lost everything gambling last time, Su Jie didn't find a single blood marrow crystal in his house, only a few worthless poisonous insects. "Hey, what's this?" Suddenly, Su Jie made an unexpected discovery under a cushion. A thin piece of golden paper, full of text. "Gu Master's Secrets. Insect Control Technique." Upon seeing the name of the scripture on the golden paper, Su Jie's eyes lit up. It was about cultivation techniques. Looking further down at the author, there was a line of small text. "This scripture is available only for inner disciples to read." Seeing this line, Su Jie was stunned. It was a cultivation scripture for inner disciples. The scripture didn't have much text, totaling just over 10,000 words. Su Jie carefully examined it and quickly understood what the scripture was about. Just as the scripture's title suggested, this scripture allowed one to master sophisticated insect control techniques, including commands for controlling, releasing, and applying poisons through insects, all techniques that Su Jie had previously overlooked and never mastered. Where did Peng Sherwan get this good stuff? Surely he didn't steal it from some inner disciple. Su Jie muttered to himself, considering Peng Sherwan's miraculously skillful lock-picking techniques. It wasn't out of the realm of possibility. He stuffed the insect control wild Taoist scripture into his bosom. Regardless of how Peng Sherwan came by it, the treasure now belonged to Su Jie. After rummaging through Peng Sherwan's house to make sure nothing was overlooked, Su Jie left and returned to his own house, impatiently sitting down on the cushion and pulling out the still unwarmed insect control wild Taoist scripture. This volume of insect control wild Taoist scripture was very easy to understand, focusing on the minute control of poisonous insects which even someone with Su Jie's talents could master effortlessly. An hour later, having gained some insights, Su Jie caught a dragonfly, dripped a drop of fresh blood and mixed it with his own spiritual power before injecting it into the dragonfly's body. In just an instant, the previously struggling dragonfly calmed down, its small eyes dully staring at Su Jie, connected by heart and blood, revealing the breach of ways. With a soft chant of the spell, Su Jie's perspective shifted, seeing the ceiling, the walls, and nearly the entire cave situation. It was Su Jie's sight shared with that of the dragonfly. Everything the dragonfly saw was instantly transmitted to Su Jie. Given that a dragonfly's eyes have a special compound eye structure, it could see clearly almost a 360-degree range of objects, providing an extremely wide field of view. Together with the dragonfly's small size, which made it hard to detect, as well as its high-speed flying and hovering ability, it was a very useful scouting insect. Buzzing. Upon Su Jie's command, the dragonfly quickly took flight, swirling around the room and accurately recognizing any command from Su Jie. In the past, it had been very difficult for Su Jie to minutely control such common insects, as their brain capacity was too low to recognize many of his commands, let alone share a field of view. Now, with the secret technique of insect control, he could manipulate common insects anytime and anywhere. Adding the shared vision, the scouting capabilities had achieved a qualitative leap. Not bad at all. Having a scouting insect will grant a significant advantage in reconnaissance, and traveling through the ancient mirror will be safer as well, Su Jie nodded in satisfaction. The interdimensional travel through the ancient mirror was his greatest secret, and one could never be too careful. Su Jie then turned his head and summoned the thousand-hand centipede, placing his right hand on its head cap, channeling most of his spiritual power into it. Hiss! The next moment, the thousand-hand centipede stood upright. Its speed and strength greatly increased, transforming into a black wind and striking a basin-sized hole into the cave wall. The pale human hands on its underside, like boneless snakes, suddenly stretched out a great length, filling half of the cave with terrifying shadows of human hands. This was the secret poison release technique within the insect control methods, similar to what Peng Sherwan had previously used to enhance the golden toad. This technique allowed the maximum utilization of the host's spiritual power, activating the insect's combat instinct, making it fiercer and more powerful. However, post-application, the insect would be lethargic for several days. It was an indispensable choice for desperate situations. No wonder the inner disciples are so strong. Their starting point is so much higher than ours. Su Jie silently lamented, thankful that he possessed the low-grade first-refined thousand-hand centipede, and could shuttle between two worlds, leveraging the resources of Blue Star to catch up. Just consider today's battle. Without the interdimensional travel provided by the ancient mirror, he would still be a minor practitioner at the second level of Yunling realm, without any means to oppose Peng Sherwan, and Su Jie would have been the one to die today. I still have to rely on you. Touching the ancient mirror, Su Jie then remembered what Taoist Chiu had mentioned today. Peng Sherwan was nothing much, but the alien ghosts were the real terror. Ordinary outer disciples, when alone against one, only had the fate of being brutally killed by the alien ghost. 10 days later, I'll have to patrol the mountains and confront the alien ghosts. A storm is brewing. I must rapidly strengthen myself and obtain more resources from Blue Star to hasten my cultivation progress. Letting out a long breath, Su Jie looked towards the axe placed in the corner. It seemed he would have to work as a lumberjack for a while again. The weather turned colder by the day, with the chill of winter gradually sweeping across the entire north. In Linping City on Blue Star at Jingjiang No. 1 Villa. Underground in the first level, Su Jie's steps were swift as he practiced a set of boxing techniques. When his fists swung, faint sounds of tigers and leopards echoed through his bones. Bang! Suddenly, Su Jie threw a punch that landed on a sturdy wooden dummy. The powerful blow immediately flung the dummy several meters away. Its chest area cracked open as if struck by a heavy hammer, while the spiritual power and chi blood in Su Jie's body continued to sublime through the exercise. After squeezing his palm, Su Jie took a deep breath and exhaled a long stream of white air that shot out several meters before dispersing. My strength must be comparable to that of a buffalo by now, he guessed in his heart. Without precise instruments to measure his strength, he reasoned that a normal person wouldn't likely survive his full punch. After a good workout session, Su Jie mused to himself, "It took 7 days, but this tiger roar fist that I bought from the black market is quite good. Now I've got some close combat abilities, which was not easy to come by." The martial arts that Su Jie practiced were from the Tianyuan world, usually practiced by experts in the martial arts community, which had limited potential. He had purchased them with 10 blood marrow stones. Since Gu masters are generally not adept at close combat, and the 100 poison refining Gu scripture that Su Jie cultivated did not strengthen his body much, compared to the bizarre abilities of the poisonous insects, close combat was his weakest attacking method. Su Jie thought about improving this deficiency. Squirm, the 1,000-hand centipede, now plumper, noticed Su Jie had finished his exercise and immediately crawled over to rub affectionately against Su Jie's pant leg, curious and looking around. "Look at you, your master is working so hard. You should also put in more effort to enter the second spiritual refining stage quicker." Su Jie tapped the head of the 1,000-hand centipede, which was now well fed and had grown to a size of 1.8 meters on Blue Star. And Su Jie could feel that the 1,000-hand centipede was close to molting again. It could be in 10 days or perhaps 20. After that, it could undergo another transformation and evolve into a low-grade creature that had accomplished second spiritual refining. The centipede's 2 antennae kept pressing against Su Jie's neck, and its ferocious mouth gaped wide open, as if it were about to imprint an emoticon of "I'm hungry, feed me" on its forehead. "You've finished already? Today I had old Chun send over 80,000 scorpions." Su Jie was startled and turned to look, only to see that the scorpions in several breeding boxes had indeed been eaten clean. Considering that each scorpion was roughly 1 yuan, the creature had munched through 80,000 yuan and still wasn't full. "Hold on. I'll have some food sent over." Su Jie pushed the centipede's head aside and picked up his phone to call Chen Yaoguang. "Old Chen, prepare a few workers and send another 20,000 scorpions over to the warehouse." "All right, I'll get it ready now. But Mr. Su, there isn't much stock left in the breeding facility. With the current rate of consumption, we won't be able to keep up with the demand through your channels." Chen Yaoguang's voice came through, concerned by the issue even though the breeding facility had recently stabilized. "How much stock is left now?" Su Jie wasn't surprised. He was well aware of the 1,000-hand centipede's growing appetite. "About 240,000 scorpions left, which would only last about 2 days with your consumption, Mr. Su." "I see. Old Chen, didn't you say you've been in the insect breeding industry for decades? Then you must know quite a few breeding farms. Can you call them for me and buy scorpions, spiders, centipedes, poisonous snakes, and other poison insects? You handle the price negotiations." "Mr. Su, I do know quite a few people, but how much do we intend to buy?" "Buy without limit up to 10 million in funds. If it goes over 10 million, report back to me." "Sheesh, that much? Got it, boss." Chen Yaoguang was shocked by Su Jie's boldness, not knowing just how big a business Mr. Su was running to casually spend 10 million on purchasing poisonous insects. After hanging up the phone, Su Jie no longer had the nonchalant demeanor he had during the call. He looked at the bank balance displayed on his phone, and after setting aside 10 million to purchase the poison insects for Chen Yaoguang, Su Jie realized he only had 1 million in available funds left. 1 million might seem like a lot, but facing the ever-increasing appetite of the 1,000-hand centipede, it was definitely not enough. "I've saved up a batch of good quality timber. Time to sell it off and recoup some funds. Luckily, Su Jie had a stable revenue stream. Otherwise, he really couldn't afford the increasingly demanding thousand-hand centipede. Sliding his finger over the phone book, Su Jie sent a message to Chen Yaoguang and then walked out of the first level of the basement. Mr. Su, your meal has been prepared. A servant came over to remind him. All right, I know. Su Jie nodded. At Jingjiang No. 1, he had hired quite a few servants, chefs, and gardeners to manage the big house, ensuring his own comfortable lifestyle. However, the first level of the basement was Su Jie's private area, where the thousand-hand centipede was kept, and no one else was allowed entry. After finishing his meal, Su Jie drove his BMW alone to the South Bridge Logistics Center. It was the same location and crew. Liang Lianjuan came again with Lung Baihe's staff. After receiving a call from Su Jie, Liang, upon hearing that there were even greater goods this time, didn't dare to delay and hurried over with his people. How could he not? Su Jie had left a deep impression on him last time. The batch of top-quality timber sold to Lung Baihe for over 60 million had made exquisite luxury furniture that garnered widespread praise. This made Liang Lianjuan attach even greater importance to his dealings with Su Jie this time. Mr. Su. Haha. Long time no see. Thank you for taking care of our business again. In front of the warehouse, seeing Su Jie, Liang Lianjuan quickly stepped forward with great enthusiasm, shaking Su Jie's hand. What, taking care? Our last cooperation was so pleasant. Of course, I thought of you and Ling Baihe first when I got my hands on good materials. Su Jie responded with a smile. He was very patient with those who were essentially bringing him money. I know Manager Liang is eager to see the goods, so let's skip the small talk. Come in and take a look at the good stuff I've prepared for you. Pushing open the warehouse door, Su Jie led Ling Baihe's staff inside, pointing to the dozens of precious trees stacked in the middle of the warehouse. Look, this is the big deal I was talking about. Damn. Following Su Jie's gaze, Liang Lianjuan was almost speechless with shock. Purple sandalwood. Unbelievable. So much top-notch purple sandalwood. I never imagined seeing this much all at once. Liang Lianjuan rushed over, murmuring to himself while caressing each of the centuries-old, extremely high-quality trees. This was his first time seeing so many precious timber materials together in his career in the wood industry. It was truly heart-stopping. Manager Liang, hold off on the excitement for a moment and start appraising the goods. Once you guys buy all this timber, you can go back and admire it at your company every day. Su Jie chuckled from the side. The high-quality timber so cherished in the eyes of Liang Lianjuan was just common wood in Tianyuan world. It only showed that the differences between the two worlds allowed Su Jie, the profiteer, to easily execute low-buy high-sell operations. Yes, master. Bring the tools over quickly. Liang Lianjuan realized that he had been somewhat uncomposed and quickly regained control of his expression. The sound of chainsaws reverberated in the warehouse. Because Su Jie had prepared dozens of trees this time, examining the quality, weighing, and valuing them took up more time. It took almost 2 hours to measure all the timber. Mr. Su, our preliminary estimate is 450 million yuan, but I can't make such a big transaction decision on my own. I need to consult the boss before making a decision, said Manager Liang. After calculating the price, Liang Lianjuan couldn't help but feel a pounding heart. Surprised by the high value of the wood, Su Jie wondered where he had managed to get it from. Such wood only comes from Southeast Asia but is also highly protected. The amount of logging each year is regulated, and even seeing one precious tree is not easy, let alone dozens at a time. Su Jie, meanwhile, was calculating how his recently depleted capital pool would soon swell up again with this money at hand, no longer fearing the voracious appetite of the thousand-hand centipede. We still need to discuss the price. You first go and tell your boss, he said. Su Jie nodded. The price was about what he had in mind. The price Liang Lianjuan offered was sincere, but of course it would be better if it could go higher. Liang Lianjuan quickly excused himself to make a phone call, while Su Jie wasn't in a hurry, pondering how he was going to spend the money once it was in his account. Even at its hungriest, The present thousand-hand centipede couldn't devour funds enough to purchase millions worth of poison insects. About 15 minutes later, Liang Lianjuan came back. However, his face seemed a bit unnatural this time and chuckled nervously upon seeing Su Jie, explaining, "Mr. Su, I'm really sorry, but the boss said your batch of goods is too valuable, and the company can't come up with so much working capital at the moment, hoping you can give a 1-week extension." "Can't come up with the money?" Su Jie frowned slightly and looked at Liang Lianjuan without speaking. The atmosphere became slightly awkward, and Liang Lianjuan wiped sweat from his forehead, fearful of offending Su Jie, their major client. "Mr. Su, I'm truly sorry. I will continue to persuade the boss on my end. Please don't be angry for now." "What do I have to be angry about? It's just business, and I never force a sale or a purchase," Su Jie responded. Su Jie patted Liang Lianjuan on the shoulder, his gaze intense, saying, "I'm in no rush to sell this batch of wood. If you want me to extend the time, you'll have to pay me a portion of the deposit, calculated at 10% just fine, so first transfer a 45 million yuan deposit." This probably can't be done, the boss on that end. Liang Lianjuan found himself in an awkward and difficult situation because Su Jie's request was quite reasonable. After all, not making contact with other buyers for such premium raw material was already a sign of trust in Leng Baihe, and requiring a deposit was a rightful gesture of sincerity. But his boss had specifically instructed him over the phone earlier not to agree to any payment of funds. To be honest, Liang Lianjuan himself couldn't understand why his boss made such an unreasonable decision. Didn't he realize how rare this batch of premium raw material was? If it was purchased by another buyer, it would only serve to enhance a competitor's reputation. It seems this collaboration isn't going smoothly. No worries. Business does not affect friendship. You go back and discuss with your boss first, Su Jie said calmly. From Liang Lianjuan's difficulties, Su Jie had already sensed something amiss. Normally, such a batch of premium raw material would undoubtedly be something that furniture companies would eagerly hope to procure. Even if genuinely short of working capital, they could arrange a loan from a bank or borrow corporate funds using this quality wood as collateral. It shouldn't be difficult to secure the funds. Even if there were difficulties to secure this batch of wood, it would be unimaginable to not even agree to use a deposit to secure it, suggesting an outright reluctance to trade. "Mr. Su, there's no need to explain anymore. This isn't something you can decide. Just go back," Su Jie interrupted. With a shake of his head, Su Jie left Liang Lianjuan with his words stuck in his throat, and seeing Su Jie's resolute attitude, he could only leave the warehouse with a face full of gloom. As Su Jie stood at the warehouse door, watching the retreating convoy, he toyed with a small dragonfly in his hand. "I hope it's not what I'm thinking otherwise." Buzz! The dragonfly, having broken free from Su Jie's palm, flapped its wings and flew to a hidden corner to quietly lie in wait. Leng Baihe Furniture Headquarters in Linping City. Returning from the suburban warehouse, Liang Lianjuan didn't even stop to drink water and hurriedly rushed into the chairman's office. Knocking on the door, a sexy figure of a female secretary opened the door and let Liang Lianjuan in. Behind the desk sat a man in his 50s, dressed in a neat suit, wearing gold-rimmed glasses, and looking very scholarly, as he was busy correcting documents. This man was none other than Cui Yunchun, the founder of Cold Lily Company and its current chairman and CEO. He single-handedly controlled this well-known furniture enterprise in Henan Province, with a net worth exceeding 2 billion yuan. The entrepreneurial journey of Cui Yunchun was quite legendary. In those turbulent times, he dropped his secure job to start a business. He had owned a popular disco and bar back in the day, and managed local civil contracting and river sand procurement. Reportedly, because of some murky background, he was arrested and spent several years in prison. After his release, he was practically penniless. Just when everyone thought Cui Yunchun was doomed to obscurity, he chose to start a business again, establishing Leng Baihe Furniture Company. Over 10 years of management, he completed a magnificent comeback, becoming a multi-billionaire and a well-known entrepreneur in Linping City. "Chairman Cui, why cancel this deal? Our Lung Baiha could definitely procure this batch of rare materials and make a strong push in the high-end furniture market, said Liang Lianjuan, unable to contain his emotions as soon as they met. He truly loved wood, and it was evident how high the quality of those materials was and how important they were to the Cold Lily Company. This is why he could not understand Cui Yunchuan's actions. Manager Liang, don't be hasty, sit down. Xiao Fei, please bring Manager Liang a cup of tea, Cui Yunchun said, lifting his head and pushing up his glasses with a gentle smile. Manager Liang, please, said the executive secretary Ma Lanfei, handing over the tea, though Liang Lianjuan showed no interest in enjoying it. Well, it seems that I must explain or Manager Liang won't want to drink this cup of tea, said Cui Yunchun with a helpless shake of his head, putting down his pen and slowly continuing. Manager Liang, it's not that I don't want to purchase that batch of wood, but the price is indeed too steep. Such a purchase would drain our company's working capital. But making that batch into furniture would easily allow us to sell and collect the funds. This type of luxury furniture is always in high demand in the market, Liang Lianjuan argued, showing his deep understanding of the market despite working in procurement. The reason I didn't proceed with the purchase is that our company managed to open a new channel in Nanxiang country through special relationships, acquiring a batch of equally rare tree materials of comparable quality and quantity, and even at a lower price. I have already ordered the purchase, and it's currently being transshipped. You will see it in a few days, explained Cui Yunchun patiently, seeming to highly value Liang Lianjuan's talent and consoling him with good words. Liang Lianjuan was stunned, as he, the manager of the procurement department, was unaware of this transaction. Moreover, what kind of channel was so powerful that, aside from Su Jie, he had not seen anyone who could bring in so many rare wood materials from abroad in one go. Cough, cough. Cui Yunchun seemed to have spoken too much all at once, starting to cough as his throat became uncomfortable. Chairman Cui, quickly take your medicine. Your chronic issue is acting up again, said Ma Lanfei, handing over a pill and warm water. Cui Yunchun swallowed it and his complexion improved slightly, managing a bitter smile. It's the chronic pharyngitis flaring up again. I can't talk too much. Chairman Cui, I'll let you rest then, Liang Lianjuan said. Although Liang Lianjuan still had his doubts, seeing Cui Yunchun like this, he felt it wasn't appropriate to stay any longer. Once the office was left with only Cui Yunchun and Ma Lanfei. Cui Yunchuan's previously gentle and refined demeanor gradually faded away as he spoke nonchalantly. Xiao Fei, how is the preparation for the operation coming along? Ma Lanfei picked up her phone and said, Lazy and brother who have the manpower and vehicles ready. The transfer location is set to an abandoned, unfinished building in the east part of the city where no one passes by. We'll lay low there for a few days to avoid attention, then quietly move the goods to our processing factory below. There won't be any slip-ups. That should be fine. Cui Yunchun nodded slightly, then continued. What about Su Jie? Have we found out anything about him? I had someone look into him. He's just an ordinary university student. No traces of him in the past half year. I suspect he went abroad, made some good connections, and managed to get his hands on these precious wood materials through luck and some connections. Ma Lanfei took out a stack of documents with information about Su Jie. For a big corporation, obtaining information about ordinary citizens is a matter of want. There is none that can't be found. Most likely he has overseas connections. The countries down south are quite chaotic. For him to have created opportunities for himself from there, he must be quite capable. Mr. Cui, are you suggesting we don't make a move? Asking cautiously, Ma Lanfei couldn't guess what was on Cui Yunchuan's mind. Cui Yunchun glanced at the documents and then swept them aside, leisurely lighting a cigar and said indifferently, That's not what I mean. If it were abroad, I might be worried, but this is Hua country. Here the dragons coil and the tigers lie. Everyone must abide by the law, including us. Does he really think he can compete with a local tough like us? Chairman Cui is right. Why don't we just go all out and... Haven't I told you not to be obsessed with violence? Things have changed, we've finally gone legit. If we give others something to hold against us, the loss would outweigh the gain. Just eat up his goods. We'll see what to do next. Chui Yunchun smiled confidently and ordered, have Lei Zi and who take action this afternoon, lest the other party sells the goods to someone else and it becomes too late. Got it. As Ma Lanfei was about to leave, she suddenly heard Chui Yunchun say, help me blow off some steam first, as a pre-celebration for our successful operation tonight. Of course, Chairman Chui. Ma Lanfei flashed a seductive smile, ran her fingers through her hair, and slowly bent over as she crouched down. South Bridge Logistics Center warehouse area. A convoy of vehicles entered in the afternoon, driving into the warehouse area. The security guards of the warehouse area saw them and let them through without any inspection. The fleet, mainly consisting of heavy trucks and cranes, had a very clear destination, stopping in front of a small warehouse. Following that, more than a dozen formidable men jumped off the vehicles and rapidly approached the warehouse. They pulled out their spare keys and unlocked the warehouse doors. It was a busy time for warehouse transfers, with loading and unloading taking place in various warehouses. Their actions didn't raise any suspicions. Is everything ready? All set. The warehouse district management has been informed, and the cameras here have been temporarily turned off. Then let's get to work and make it quick. Don't worry, Brother Hu. It's not our first time doing this kind of job. What could possibly go wrong? The group chatted and laughed as they worked at a steady pace. In the warehouse, logs weighing tons were hoisted onto the trucks. The entire process was quick and orderly, suggesting they knew what they were doing. The whole operation was completed in less than half an hour. During that half hour, not a single security guard patrolled the area. Apart from the noise of some timber being loaded onto trucks, there was nothing else. Once the precious timber had all been loaded, a few other heavy trucks arrived. They dumped a load of wood in the rear compartment, except it was only normal tree materials, cheap stuff worth a few hundred per ton. Lei Zi, is the fire setup ready? All done. Guaranteed no flaws. All right, retreat. With an order, the heavy vehicles started up again. Shortly after they left, flames suddenly flared up inside the warehouse. Then the flames rapidly spread, engulfing the entire warehouse in a raging fire. Meanwhile, the convoy left the South Bridge Logistics Center amidst joyous laughter. But they didn't notice that on various parts of their trucks, the front, the carriage, the bottom, a few dragonflies were quietly perched. Jingjiang No. 1 Villa. In front of the floor-to-ceiling window, Su Jie's gaze turned toward the warehouse area, where he seemed to see the fierce flames burning. Indeed, wealth stirs the human heart. The ancients never lied to me. Although he had expected it, Su Jie hadn't thought that the others would act so decisively. This was modern society, yet they carried out daylight robbery naturally and with ease. However, I quite like this kind of irrational business warfare. It means I don't have to hold back. In doing evil deeds, we demon cultivators will not be outdone by anyone. Su Jie's mouth curved into a cold smile. If someone wanted to play dirty with a demon cultivator, Su Jie was very willing to oblige. Eating his stuff wouldn't be simply ended by throwing it back up. Oh! The next day, at the South Bridge Logistics Center, Su Jie stood in front of his own warehouse, now ruins. After yesterday's fire, all that was left were ashes and broken bricks and metal. This is the fire investigation report from the fire department. It states that the fire was caused by the illegal storage of electric scooters in the warehouse, which ignited the batteries. Combined with the timber inside, it ultimately started the fire and resulted in this disaster. You need to compensate for our warehouse losses, totaling 950,000 yuan. You should be grateful there were no casualties. Otherwise, with your actions, you would have been arrested long ago. A supervisor from the South Bridge Logistics Warehouse Center furiously waved the report, spitting as he accused Su Jie of illegal operations that burned down their warehouse. I don't recall ever storing electric scooters in the warehouse. Su Jie's gaze shifted to the supervisor as he said with a smiling face. The supervisor was startled, a flicker of unease passing over his face, and then roared, "Who else but you? We rented this warehouse to you. Everything stored was yours." It's pointless to play dumb now. You must compensate for our loss, or wait to be sued. Su Jie's lips curled slightly as he said, I can give you the money, but... Su Jie smiled, whispering menacingly in the supervisor's ear. Be careful. You might have the hands to take this money, but not the life to spend it. What do you mean by that, huh? Trying to scare and threaten me? Who do you think you are? The supervisor sneered internally, accustomed to seeing plenty of people who were mentally unhinged after bankruptcy. This was a society ruled by law. He didn't take such threats seriously at all. As long as you're happy. Su Jie waved his hand and didn't bother to argue any further. He got into his BMW M8 and drove out of the South Bridge warehouse. The real show was just beginning. Jingjiang Manor. In the sales office, a brand new Audi Q3 came to a smooth halt in the parking space. The door opened, and Lu Yingying, carrying her newly purchased Hermes bag and looking radiant, stepped out and confidently strode into the sales department. Inside the sales department, property sales agents who were chatting idly all turned their heads to look, and many were green with envy at such a sight. Yingying, you've really made a fortune, haven't you? How much commission did they give you yesterday? TSK. A new Audi Q3 plus that Hermes bag. That's got to be at least 500,000, right? You've only been here a little over a month, Yingying. Hitting it big with a wealthy tycoon this time was really striking it lucky. One after another, they either flattered or made snide remarks, but Lu Yingying didn't take them to heart. Instead, she graciously said, I still rely on everyone's support, and besides, I haven't forgotten about all of you. I've even brought gifts especially. Come and have a taste. Lu Yingying opened a box of high-end pastries she had brought and said with a beaming smile, These I bought from Lanqin Xian, their most expensive selection, selling for 2,999 yuan. Shen Miao, didn't you have their 1,300 yuan box of chocolates just last week? Try this and see what it tastes like. The pretty little beauty Zhao Xuanmiao, who had a solid 80 points for her looks and figure, didn't look too pleased, because last week she had come boasting with a box of chocolates, and at that time, she distributed them to the other girls at the sales office, all except Lu Yingying. Before Lu Yingying arrived, she was the brightest flower in the sales department, and ever since Lu Yingying arrived, she had immediately stolen her limelight. I won't eat. I've been having a toothache lately, not good for eating sweets, and not to speak out of turn, but Yingying, the money you make doesn't come easy. You can't always be that lucky. Zhao Xuanmiao forced a smile, though her tone was dripping with sarcasm. Lu Yingying, holding her head high with confidence, retorted, Then don't worry about it. I'll spend my money however I want. Your money? Who knows if it's clean or not? They say when women fight, there's no reasoning involved, and now Zhao Xuanmiao and Lu Yingying were quietly competing with each other. As they were speaking, someone walked into the sales office and exclaimed, Yo, it's quite lively in here today. Everyone turned towards the voice, and then several female sales agents' eyes lit up. I came today to finalize some paperwork for a house. Who's free to help? Su Jie glanced around, and as soon as he spoke, there was silence for a few seconds. Then several female sales agents squeezed forward. Mr. Su, I'm free right now. Let me help you with that. I'm in charge of handling these matters, Mr. Su. You just have a cup of tea, and I'll take care of everything for you. Several female sales agents crowded around Su Jie, their gazes fixed on him. They had all witnessed Lu Yingying's rise to fortune and knew in these times it was better to be rich and shameless. If you can make money, you've got skill. Zhao Xuanmiao was the quickest to act, quickly securing a favorable position, while Lu Yingying felt a bit uncomfortable upon seeing Su Jie, remembering what had happened that night. Then seeing a group of fox spirits swarm around him, she inwardly cursed them for their shamelessness. Let's go with this pretty young lady here. Su Jie casually chose Zhao Xuanmiao, immediately putting a beaming smile on her face. Lu Yingying watched, feeling an inexplicable surge of anger, gazing at Su Jie with eyes full of hurt. Su Jie seemed not to notice and, after everything was settled, turned to everyone with a smile. Ladies and gentlemen, to celebrate the complete handover of my new house. I'm throwing a party at my villa tonight. I've invited a top chef from a high-end restaurant. It looks like it's about time for you all to get off work too. How about coming over and joining the fun? Wow, Mr. Su, you're really generous. We'd be glad to accept your invitation. With the opportunity for a free meal, nobody was going to turn down such good fortune. Especially some of the female property sales agents, who considered themselves quite attractive. Each had their own ulterior motives, hoping to hook a wealthy husband. The night deepened. Lights shone brightly on the lawn of Jingjiang No. 1, where a culinary team from an advanced restaurant was bustling about. Steak, lobster, tuna sashimi, and other high-end ingredients flowed onto tables like water, leaving a group of people eating to their heart's content. Mr. Su, I'd like to propose a toast to you. Mr. Su, if you have friends who need to buy houses in the future, please make sure to come to me. The central figure of the party was naturally Su Jie. At that moment, a flock of women surrounded Su Jie, casting coquettish glances that made Lu Yingying's eyes shoot flames. Brother Su, could you help me twist off this bottle cap? I'm too clumsy. Zhao Xuanmiao clutched a cola bottle, puffing her cheeks as she tried hard, then looked at Su Jie with eyes pleading for help. Su Jie raised an eyebrow, casually twisted open the cola, his smile full of playfulness. Are you a bit drunk? My head feels a bit dizzy. Brother Su, can I rest on your couch for a while? My place is too far, and you can trust me, I absolutely won't dirty it. Zhao Xuanmiao hung her head in feigned embarrassment, looking like she couldn't handle her liquor, almost burrowing into Su Jie's embrace. Of course you can. Why sleep on the couch when there are plenty of rooms? Brother Su, you are so nice, so gentle and considerate. If you weren't taken, I might have been moved. Zhao Xuanmiao covered her mouth, revealing an adoring and longing gaze. Xian Miao, didn't you rent a small apartment nearby? Just then, Lu Yingying walked over and said without mincing words, also, at the last company dinner, I seem to remember you drinking on the box. How come you're drunk after just a few sips today? Needing Mr. Su to hold you up. Zhao Xuanmiao's pretty face turned dark, almost to the point of fury, yet she put on a pitiful expression. Sorry, sister. I wasn't steady on my feet. Brother Su just gave me a hand. Please don't misunderstand. The tension escalated. Lu Yingying glared fiercely. The saying goes that girls can spot whether someone's a green tea or not at a glance. And now, when Lu Yingying looked at Zhao Xuanmiao, it seemed as though the green tea was about to spill over. Suddenly, Lu Yingying staggered a bit, as if the alcohol had hit her, weakly wrapping an arm around Su Jie. Mr. Su, just now I don't know why, but I suddenly felt a bit. Am I bothering you? I really have no other intentions. It's just that I can't find anyone to talk to. I'm not as outgoing as Xian Miao, and I feel like such a failure. Lu Yingying spoke softly. Since her opponent had initiated with green tea tactics, she could only counteract magic with magic. It's just green tea tricks. As if she couldn't do the same. Now it was Zhao Xuanmiao's turn to feel irritated. Looking at Lu Yingying, who had come out to stir up trouble, she felt extremely annoyed. By the way, Xian Miao, Sister Zhang mentioned you have a doctoral student boyfriend who came to the company's door to give you flowers. When can you bring him to meet our colleagues? Before Zhao Xuanmiao could speak, Lu Yingying pressed her advantage with a killer blow. Zhao Xuanmiao's mouth twitched slightly, saying, You remembered wrong. He's just a suitor, and we haven't confirmed our relationship. Don't spread rumors. Lu Yingying feigned realization, saying, Oh, I see, my mistake. The one who gave flowers should be that college student from medical university. I heard he's on the basketball team. Quite a handsome young man. Brother Su, I'm feeling a bit unwell, so I'll head back first. Zhao Xuanmiao's face looked very unpleasant, and there she definitely knew she had been outmaneuvered. She could only glare at Lu Yingying fiercely and leave in a huff. Whereas Lu Yingying stood like a triumphant general, her head held high with happiness written all over her face. Do girls always compete with each other like this? After witnessing a palace drama play out, Su Jie finally spoke up. No, it's just that I couldn't stand watching Zhao Xuanmiao being all pretentious and fake there. Lu Yingying became a bit embarrassed under Su Jie's gaze. She had her own tea ceremony skills, but she believed her moral character and demeanor were much higher than Zhao Xuanmiao's. At least she wouldn't keep such a large circle of adoring fans. Su Jie, you don't think badly of me, do you? I might love money a bit, but I don't look down on others, and I've never played with anyone's feelings. You're quite honest. Su Jie touched Lu Yingying's flushed cheeks and said, Stay here tonight. Lu Yingying's cheeks reddened even more as she played with her fingers and softly murmured an affirmative. Su Jie, with a smile on his face, held his wine glass and looked around, saying, Everyone, enjoy your food and drinks. I'm feeling a bit under the weather, so I'm going to rest early. Having said that, Su Jie led Lu Yingying away from the lawn and into the villa. Many people at the venue understood what was happening and silently remarked on Lu Yingying's luck in finding a powerful supporter. Accompanied by another high-pitched moan, an exhausted Lu Yingying fell into a deep sleep. Su Jie lit a black candle, soul-calming incense, which could aid in the cultivation of one's divine soul. Ordinary people who inhaled it would enter a deep sleep and wake up the next day feeling refreshed and clear-headed. After doing all this, Su Jie dressed himself and left the villa alone in the night, heading to the dock in the backyard. Splash, splash. The sounds of water from Qingshui River in the backyard surged as the figure of the thousand-handed centipede emerged. Let's go, we'll find some people to play with. Su Jie patted the head of the thousand-handed centipede, then stepped onto its back and let it carry him toward the eastern district of Linping City. Oh! In an abandoned, unfinished building on the east side of Linping City, several heavy trucks stood in the deserted area. The building, which should have been quiet and desolate, buzzed with noise, along with loud voices. A group of tattooed tough guys were drinking and making merry. Brother Hu, when can we go back? It's not fun just drinking without any girls. Exactly. We've pulled off such a big deal. We deserve some reward, right? The group, now drunk, immediately revealed their true natures, seeking some entertainment. The man they called Brother Hu, a bald strong man nearly 2 meters tall, laughed and scolded. Once the coast is clear, I'll take you to the nightclubs, and you can live it up for a month. For now, just stay put and wait for the boss's arrangements. Aren't we being too cautious? We did the job so cleanly. What could possibly go wrong now? Humph, our opponent most likely has overseas connections. Being careful never hurts. Brother Hu pointed at the man who had just spoken, instructing, Lazy, stop thinking about what's in your pants all day. If we deliver this cargo smoothly to the boss, you'll be set for several years. Then you'll have all the women you want. But for now, hold it in for a few days. All right, Brother Hu. I can't argue with you. Whatever you say goes. Lazy scratched at his crotch, put down the bottle and said, I'm gonna go take a leak. Lazy, you're not gonna chicken out on us, are you? Yeah, you've only had a few bottles of horse piss, and now you want to run off to pee. Shut the hell up, as if I'd back down. You just wait. I'll deal with you all when I get back. Lazy cursed as he staggered out of the room with drunken steps. He didn't go far, as the place was just an unfinished building with bare concrete everywhere. So he simply found a corner and unzipped to relieve himself. Rustle, rustle. Suddenly, Lazy heard a strange, faint sound by his ear. It was as if something was crawling. In the dark, where the eyes could not see, hearing often became more sensitive, so Lazy heard it very clearly. What's that sound? His body jerked. Lazy pulled up his pants and took out a lighter from his pocket. With the light of the flame, he looked towards the source of the sound. He saw a huge dark shadow dart across the ceiling, with grim, purplish-black insect armor and numerous pale limbs wriggling underneath. The terrifying and eerie sight immobilized Lazy as if he were under an immobilization spell. His mouth hung open, but no sound came out due to fright. Crack, crack. Suddenly, the horrifying figure on the ceiling stopped moving and dangled half its body down. Just like an eagle snatching up a chick, It dragged Lazy up to the ceiling in one bite, followed by sounds of bones breaking. Then silence ensued. Inside the house, the group that was drinking suddenly heard someone say, "Why has Lazy been gone for so long and not come back yet? Maybe he's passed out somewhere. Someone go take a look. Haha, I have to take a few embarrassing photos of him, so I can make fun of him when we get back." Two tattooed men hooked arms and stood up to go outside and check. Another 10 minutes passed, and someone said, "Where are Broken Teeth Fong and that monkey? They've been gone to look for Lazy for so long. Didn't they all pass out drunk outside, too?" Brother who was playing cards, frowned and said, "Something's not right. Call them." Clatter. Just then, the few candles lit in the room all went out, plunging the surroundings into pitch darkness. Before the drinking group could realize what was happening, several screams were heard around them. "Get a flashlight, turn on the phone lights." Brother whose complexion changed drastically as he shouted for someone to turn on their phones, while he himself hastily grabbed a prepared flashlight and switched it on. When light once again filled the room, a scene unfolded that shocked everyone present. Out of the original group of more than a dozen people, 5 were now gone, leaving only 7, including Brother Who, Big Stupid Black, Ayun, Chun Luaji, Brother Bing, and Agu are all missing. Someone counted out the missing persons, their voice trembling. In the space of just a few seconds, 5 people had vanished, in addition to the previously missing trio including Lazy. 8 people had disappeared without a trace, neither alive nor dead. Ghosts? Could there be ghosts? When this building was under construction, a worker died from falling. Have we angered something unclean? One superstitious person was close to peeing their pants out of fear, and their words only heightened the others' nervousness. They huddled together like a flock of quail, clearly on edge. Brother who had never believed in ghosts, developed goosebumps on his skin and cursed loudly, drawing out a machete and looking into the darkness beyond the light, bellowing, "Who's there? Who's playing tricks? Show yourself if you dare. I'll chop you to death. You think you can scare me like this? If my balls shrink even a bit, I'll take your surname." No response came. In the darkness, only the cold night wind poured in through the unsealed windows. "Go, check it out outside." With a ferocious look in his eye, Brother Who shoved one of his lackeys, ignoring his resistance, and sent him outside to investigate. However, no sooner had the lackey vanished under the glow of their flashlights than a scream erupted. The group watched in horror as the man appeared to be dragged away by some creature in the darkness. The cell phone he had been clutching tumbled to the ground, followed by a few more shrieks that ended abruptly, and then silence fell once again. When Brother Who quickly shone his flashlight toward the spot, he saw a contorted figure lying on the ground. The man looked like a broken toy, with his head folded onto his backside, his limbs twisted into a pretzel shape, his eyes wide open, filled with intense fear. Gulp! A group of tattooed brutes turned pale with fear, some of them unable to hold onto their metal rods and knives, which clattered to the ground. They had cut people, been to jail. To ordinary folks, they were extremely violent thugs. But killing people was one thing. Aside from Brother Who, none of them had actual experience with it, let alone had seen such a spectacle. Even Brother Who felt his hair standing on end. He had never seen anything this bizarre before. Now he began to believe that they had encountered a ghost. Otherwise, how could a living person be twisted into such a strange shape in just a few seconds? There really are ghosts, Woo, we're done for. Call the police quickly, call the damn police. Let them come save us. The group of tattooed toughs was on the verge of a mental collapse, and even Brother Who stopped insisting. Getting caught for a minor offense like stealing some wood would have landed him in jail for a few years at most, but staying here could mean death. Be careful, I'll call the police. Brother Who turned cowardly and tried to dial 911 himself. But before the call could go through, something in the darkness was rapidly closing in. Whoosh! A nasty gust of wind blew in, and the thousand-hand centipede's grotesque body emerged from the darkness, biting down hard on Brother Who. Monster! Monster! The thugs exploded into panic, scattering in terror. But what they didn't know was that escaping from this abandoned building was already an impossibility. Several pale human hands detached from the belly of the thousand-hand centipede and stealthily disappeared into the dark, and soon after, a few desperate screams echoed in the silent building, carrying far before everything turned quiet once more. The thousand-hand centipede made a sizzling noise twice, clutching Brother who was still struggling in terror. Behind it, the pale hands dragged the bodies, heading toward the ground floor. On the ground floor of the abandoned building, Sujie stood in front of several heavy trucks, pulling back the tarpaulins to reveal loads of intact, precious small-leaved rosewood logs. Stealing from anyone but me, why do they all have to follow Peng Sherwin's example? With a sigh, Sujie lamented that he genuinely wanted to be a law-abiding citizen. So why did they insist on forcing his hand? At that moment, the thousand-hand centipede came down from the building, bringing back 14 bodies, neatly arranged in front of Sujie. Lastly, it dropped Brother whom it had been carrying in its mouth, at Sujie's feet like a prized offering. Good boy! Sujie scratched the thousand-hand centipede's chin. The bulky tail of the thousand-hand centipede wagged back and forth like that of a happy puppy. Are you human or ghost? Human or ghost? Brother who trembled uncontrollably, glancing at the corpses of his subordinates all around him, his insides quaking with fear. He had never before encountered such a ruthless individual, and the methods of this person were beyond anything he had heard of. Who I am? Didn't you investigate that thoroughly enough? A hint of a smile played on Sujie's lips as he stepped out from the shadows into the moonlight, bending down to face him. It's you are the owner of those materials. Upon recognizing Sujie's face, Brother who felt his legs go numb, realizing why Sujie had come after them, and it was indeed no injustice. Now that you know, it will be easier to deal with you. I'm interested in some information about your boss. If you give it up, I won't betray the boss. In the movies, that's how it always goes. Say it and you'll kill me to silence me. Brother who wore a determined expression, and it almost made Sujie laugh. I didn't see you as the tough guy type. Good, I do have some expertise in making people talk. I hope you don't disappoint me. Trying to play the hero in front of Sujie, Brother who clearly didn't know the punitive measures of a demon cultivator. 10 minutes later, I've said everything I could. Please, just give me a quick death. The previously unyielding Brother who lay on the ground, consumed by despair and fear, wishing for nothing but death. Really, not even 10 minutes endured. In the next life, remember to be a good person like me. Sujie snapped his fingers. You call yourself a good person. Demons aren't as bad as you. This thought flashed through Brother who's mind. Then his consciousness was engulfed as swarms of fire blood bees covered his entire body, burrowing into him from his mouth and nose. Sujie then opened the ancient mirror he had brought with him, tossing the corpse and the small-leaved red sandalwood into it, effectively erasing all traces of the scene. Having put everything in order, Sujie vanished into the night. He was off to find the real mastermind. The ones he'd killed were merely pawns. What did you say? Who isn't answering his phone? What about Lei Zi and the others? In a luxurious villa in Linping City, Cui Yun-chun, dressed in pajamas and listening to Ma Lanfei's report, stood up abruptly. Chairman Cui, you told me to call Hu every 3 hours. I did as you instructed, but half an hour ago, no one answered his phone, and nobody responded to Lei Zi and the others either. Ma Lanfei spoke anxiously, as it wasn't yet midnight and her calls had gone unanswered, prompting her to come and report immediately. Could it be that Hu and the rest got greedy and decided to keep the merchandise for themselves? Ma Lanfei hesitated before venturing a guess. Impossible. I raised Hu from an orphan, he's loyal to me. Something's definitely happened to them. Make inquiries immediately, and focus on this Sujie fellow. Cui Yun-chun was livid, his eyes fierce as if to devour someone. Startled, Ma Lanfei was about to make a call when suddenly a voice echoed in the room. Boss Cui, so eager to find me, huh? The voice came from outside the door, startling both occupants of the bedroom. Who are you? Wait, Mr. Su. You are Mr. Su, aren't you? Chui Yun-chun was initially taken aback, but then quickly came to a realization. I admit I was wrong in this matter, and I am willing to apologize. I'll pay 100 million yuan for your losses, how about that? I can add more if it's not enough. True to his experience in surviving many upheavals, Chui Yun-chun was quick to concede. If Su Jie could enter his home silently, it meant his life was under threat. 100 million yuan is a big sum, but it's too late to talk about this now. With a cold chuckle, footsteps approached from outside the bedroom. As the door opened, a figure stood in the moonlight, sending chills down the spine. Chui Yun-chun and Ma Lanfei peered closely, and simultaneously shouted, "Ahu!" The man at the door was their associate. "Ahu! How are you here? Did you actually betray me? You've got some nerve." Chui Yun-chun seemed to realize something. His mix of shock and anger fixed on Ahu. "Brother Hu, how could you do this? Chairman Chui had been so good to you, yet you conspire with outsiders to betray us." Ma Lanfei was equally furious, her heart also secretly relieved. After so many years of companionship, at least brother Hu wouldn't kill her, she hoped. However, facing Chui Yun-chun's rage, Ahu responded strangely, lifting his arms stiffly. His eyes filled with despair. "Save me, Mr. Chui. Save me." Before he could finish his plea, Ahu's face contorted. His skin twitched as if something was wriggling underneath, and he spoke in a hoarse, stiff voice. "Tage, still far from perfect. A mere human can't maintain control. Well then, Boss Chui, you seem to like setting fires, so I'll offer you a fire in return. An eye for an eye. Fair, isn't it?" It was only then that the two realized something was very wrong with Ahu, as if he was under someone's control. Unaware of Gu masters, Chui Yun-chun and Ma Lanfei didn't understand that this was a technique resulting from the application of spiritual power by a Gu master, a skill that Su Jie had recently mastered while practicing the insect control technique. Due to Su Jie's insufficient strength, coupled with inherent flaws in the technique, such as time and distance limits, similar to signal fluctuations, sometimes the victims would break free from control, just as had happened moments ago. "Mr. Su, we can still talk. Name your price." Feeling utterly uneasy, Chui Yun-chun shouted out in panic, but this time Ahu did not respond. His flesh split and in fire blood bees emerged, swarming towards the two. The gory and terrifying scene nearly sent both into shock. Pleas for mercy came too late. Inside the bedroom, tiny fires started to burn, igniting a massive blaze courtesy of the fire blood bees from Tianyuan World. Standing hundreds of meters away atop a tree, Su Jie surveyed the fiery blaze engulfing the building. "Not bad at all. The flames are spectacular. No wonder villains love arson after murder. It really is quite satisfying." A smile lingered on Su Jie's face as he cast one last look at the sky-high flames and then turned away from the place. "Out for 2 hours, it's time to rest. Tonight I can finally get some good sleep."